Okay, namaste. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be across the planet around the world. My name is Gregg Prescott from In5D.com. And today we are joined by a wonderful, wonderful lady that if you don't know her yet, you'll love her. And if you do know her, you'll love her anyway. And it's Adrienne Goff. She's an amazing woman that knows everything and anything you want to ask about crystals. But today we're going to be talking about crystals and the chakras. And before we get started, I want to ask you to please consider helping to sponsor In5D by visiting either one of these websites. This is in5d.net, where I've got the quantum tie-dye t-shirts, and we got ladies shirts, different colors, sizes, men's, everything that you want, tank tops. Each one of these shirts has the 99.9% quartz crystal sand infused into the dye and the shirts. So they're like magical shirts. People that wear them to bed say they have amazing dreams. Got incredible testimonials on these. Check out the testimonials as well. Another way you can support In5D is through Patreon, where we have a number of different levels. First level, for example, gets you listed on the wall of gratitude, and you also get notified of videos like this. And you can comment on these videos as well on Patreon. At the 555 level, you get all that, plus ad-free articles and the Insiders Club private chat, which is held on the first Wednesday of every month. So that's coming up a week from today. And then for 11, you get all that, plus exclusive afterthoughts videos and an exclusive mid-month energy report video. There's other tiers, but you can check that out for yourself on patreon.com/in5d. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on Adrienne Goff. Hi, Adrienne. How are you?
Hi, Greg. Hi, everybody. Sending crystal blessings from Austin, Texas. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, my pleasure. Absolutely. I brag about you.
Aww.
I do. I'm serious. When I tell people, if you know Adrienne, you love her. And if you don't, you will. And you'll love her again. So you're amazing. I just want to show this too. I'm going to go back to a screen share. I'm going to brag for you, if you don't mind me doing so. If you go to In5D, there's a number of articles that she has here. Here's one: 7 brilliant ways to work with citrine. You can make a magic wand with various crystals. This one's kyanite. Crystal divination. Crystals for starseeds, for sensitive souls. Ascension symptoms, working with calcite, and so on. So, go to In5D and check out her articles. Also, go to her website and check out everything about it. I've been through it all. Her about section will tell you a little bit more about her. Her blog has amazing articles on it as well, where you can also check out the Ask Adrienne, and you'll get a bunch of questions on there that, let's get that, there it is. Like, for example, that can help healing with my pets, crystals for that, money troubles, discovering your life purpose, and so on and so forth. We could spend probably an hour just doing this, but I'm going to let you talk a little about yourself. Why don't you tell our listeners a little about you?
Oh, well, thank you so much for this opportunity to share. I've just been really looking forward to this for a while. Well, I'm a crystal energy expert, and I've been doing this for about 15 years now. And it is truly my passion. I just kind of started out with the crystals when I started having my awakening. And I went to a really excellent healer, and she asked me a question. She said, are you aware that you have a really strong connection with the mineral kingdom? And I was like, well, that sure is interesting. I wasn't consciously aware of that, but she gave me an assignment. She says, after this session, I want you to go to the nearest crystal shop and you go in there and see what happens. I'm like, sounds fun. So I showed up at this crystal shop called Crystal Works. And, at that point, I didn't know the names of the crystals or what they do. I just went to 3 of them that stood out to me, and I didn't know why, but I liked them. So I took them up to the counter, and then the lady who was checking me out, she says, who are you? I'm like, yeah, I'm Adrienne. Hi. She's like, no, what is it that you do? And I'm like, well, I'm in massage therapy school. I'm studying Reiki to be a healer. And she goes, that explains it. You just picked out the 3 most powerful healing crystals that I have in this entire store. And I was blown away. I had no idea. So she sat there and she's like showing me the special features. Oh, look how that one broke and it regrew, it self-healed, and this one does this. And I was like, wow, maybe this lady who gave me the session is on to something. So it really started my path. And I just devoured everything about crystals. And I realized very quickly that I wanted to get trained. I wanted to know everything about crystals. So I went to the Crystal Academy of Advanced Healing Arts on the island of Kauai. That's a school founded by Katrina Raphael. She's a wonderful teacher. And I went and took some other crystal trainings. And then it just kind of took off. And when I first started though, I felt like I didn't really know what I was doing, and I wasn't really psychic. You know, I didn't feel like I had all of these abilities like other people had, but I kind of just instinctively knew what to do with the crystals. Like somebody would be on my table and I would just see like an orange calcite, and it's like, oh, this one really needs to go on their heart chakra for some reason. And I just worked with my gut instinct. What I found is that the more that you work with crystals, they will begin to activate more of your psychic senses and abilities. So the longer I've worked with them, now I can feel their energy. Now I can get visual impressions and like clairvoyant kind of messages from them. So it's been a really fascinating unfolding. And so after that, it was just so clear in my mind. I said, universe, I really want to do this work. And then the universe just kept giving me opportunities to do this work. So I got invited to join the Earthkeeper group, which has been my biggest honor. I've been a speaker and a healer at those Earthkeeper conferences for 10 years. And James Tiburon is a wonderful walking master who really does a good job of blending the science with the spirituality, which I think is where it's at. I've learned so much from that experience. I've written a couple of books. One of them is called Crystal Healing for the Whole Being. Another one's an ebook called Becoming Crystal Clear. It's all about clearing the chakras. And I love to write the articles. I'm always so honored when you guys put up my articles. So thank you for that. And I love to teach. I've taught all over Texas and in different states like Michigan, California, et cetera. So it's just my passion and my joy. And I'm so happy that today I can share some useful information with you guys.
Let me ask you this. As a child, were you interested in crystals and gemstones?
I was. In fact, the first crystal that really captured my heart was an opal. I saw an opal and I thought it was the most enchanting thing in all of existence, with all of that bright, sparkly iridescence. And that really opened the door. So then I started my own rock collection, right? And I would just go out, because I lived in the woods. I lived on a farm. So I'd go outside and just pick up my special rocks. And then, so I had a little budding collection as a kid. And so I always appreciated them, but I didn't understand about their therapeutic value until much later.
So you're a Leo, but do you have like a moon or an ascendant in Libra?
I think I have something in Libra somewhere.
Right.
Not sure where, but I have 5 planets in Leo.
Oh
my sun, my moon, my ascendant is Virgo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So you're super fire.
Very Leo. Maybe a little too much Leo.
Oh, that's funny, because I'm like triple air. I'm all triple Libra. So all air. And my daughter, the reason I asked that, my daughter's a Leo and she's fire, and her and I just have this wonderful relationship. My air feeds her fire. Yeah.
That's right.
So that's why I asked, when you mentioned opal, I'm thinking there's got to be some opal in your chart there, or some Libra in your chart somewhere.
Right. I think there is. I just can't remember where at this moment.
And it's interesting too about the opal. It's not just, a lot of people think of opal as just being that iridescent one that is like milky white, but there's like all different kinds of opals.
Oh yeah. Like right now I'm having a love affair with pink opal.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I got this pink opal crystal skull. It's pretty big. And it has the most beautiful, soft, nurturing, calming vibration of anything. And like when I get anxious or my heart is racing or something like that, I just hold on to that skull, and it's just like helps me to really relax. And it's such a sweet energy. And that's very different than a typical opal, because usually opal exacerbates your emotional state. So it might make your anxiety even more, but not the pink opal. it brings it down. So they're all a little bit different.
Well, is it like just a old tale that I've heard that opals can be unlucky if it's not your birthstone.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
That doesn't resonate with me at all.
Good. Good.
I love opals and I have an abundance of them and I will wear them. I wear an opal ring almost every day. So.
Yeah. So that dispels that rumor, right?
Yeah. Anybody can wear an opal, people.
Yeah. Being a triple Libra, I say, hey, there's such a beautiful stone. Everyone should have one, why be selfish with the other Librans? A lot of people say that crystals talk to them, and you were talking about how you went in and bought those, you picked out those 3 crystals.
Right.
Did you ever have one literally say, hey, over here?
Yes.
Okay, good. Tell us about that.
I have. The first time that happened in a very strong way, I was at the crystal shop here in Austin called Nature's Treasures. And I was walking by a shelf and then I literally heard, hey, and I'm like, where the heck is that coming from? And it kept on persisting with this, hey, until I looked down on a bottom shelf. There was this citrine skull with this big smile on its face. And I'm like, okay, yeah, okay, you're coming with me. And the funny thing about that is I took it to an Earthkeeper conference once and I was in the audience and I was just sitting there with the skull in my lap. And after the speaker, somebody tapped on my shoulder and her eyes were really big. And she goes, your skull just was yelling at me the whole time. It was going, hey. And she's like, I didn't know they could talk. I said, yes, they can. And that's exactly how this one gets your attention. So, yes.
So she has that same gift. I mean, I've had stones. I'll go to for example, here in Sarasota, we have this Indian get together every year, right about this time, as a matter of fact. And they always have this jewelry there. And this one opal stone was calling me, but I didn't hear it physically. Some people like you, hey, but it was still calling me and I was just drawn to it. I didn't buy it the first time around. The second time around, I went and I saw it and I'm like, and the same thing happened with this crystal ball that I have. And it's right here. This kept calling me. And same thing happened. I went to where it was being sold. I looked at it and thought, man, it's so beautiful. It's just, I can't take my eyes off of it. And I said, no, not now, not today. But I walked around and it's like, hey, I didn't hear it, but it was literally saying to me, hey, come on, get me. But I don't hear it literally though. You hear it literally.
Sometimes, right? And they all can communicate a little bit differently. Like that citrine, that's like a Leo. That's like a very, that one in particular had a very big and bold personality. Some crystals are a lot more subtle, and there are times when I don't actually hear their little voices or anything, but maybe you feel just really good or happy, and then you kind of know, oh, this is a good vibrational match for me right now. Mm-hmm. So sometimes it's very subtle. Yeah.
Well, today you're going to be talking about crystals and the chakras. So this is going to be really interesting. I'm going to let you take the floor, and I'm going to lower the air in my place while you're talking. So I'll be right back.
Okay. Continue. Yeah, that sounds really good. I'll take it. Yeah, so I'm really glad that we did decide to do this topic of crystals and the chakras, because having your chakras balanced and aligned, I think that's the key to being happy and healthy and balanced and functioning well in 3D and in all the other dimensions like 5D. So I guess I'll just go over the chakras, just a little bit of general information. The way I see it, the chakras are kind of like power points or gateways into the human energy system. So the chakras actually receive energy from the environment, and then that energy gets circulated through the body via the meridian system. And so, we have thousands of minor chakras throughout the body, but most people, when they say the chakras, they're talking about the major chakras, where there's like 7 major chakras located in a center line at the core of the body. And each of those chakras has correspondences. They have certain colors they're associated with. They're associated with the organs and glands. that are in the vicinity of each chakra. So for instance, the heart chakra governs the heart, the lungs, the thymus gland, that sort of thing. And in a perfect world, our chakras would always be nice and open and clear and balanced. But from time to time, we all do get what's called as blockages. They're very common. I do crystal healing as a living, so I see people with blockages all the time, and I'm still working through some of my chakra blockages. And there's many reasons why our chakras can become blocked. In my experience, one of the top reasons is unprocessed emotional energy, right? And I really think that's because we aren't really taught how to deal with our emotions in society, right? A lot of times we just stuff them down. We don't want to feel them. We don't know what to do with them. And so that energy gets lodged in the chakras or even in the tissues of the body. And then another thing that can cause these blockages are just our beliefs and our thoughts. And, you know, from a young age, we're kind of programmed from our family or from society or institutions, or TV, whatever it is. And if you're constantly replaying negative beliefs and thoughts, that can actually create blockages in your life and in your chakras and your reality. We can get blockages from stress, health concerns, even just from picking up negative energy from our surroundings and from other people. That can congeal and cause blockages. And the problem is when we have a blockage, there's like a localized deficiency of energy in that area because the energy can't flow through the blockage. And if it's left untreated over time, that can kind of congeal and turn into physical, emotional, or mental disease. Also, if you've got a blockage in one chakra or two chakras, it might cause the other chakras to get overstimulated or overactive in order to compensate. So that's kind of what we're dealing with. But the beautiful thing is you can correct a lot of these imbalances really easily just by placing the right crystals over the chakras. Because the crystals can open a chakra, they can start to regulate the vibrational frequency of a chakra and then balance the energies out. And then there's certain crystals that have a real specialty of just literally going in there and pulling out stuck negative energy. So they're really wonderful. And maybe I should talk a little bit about how crystals can achieve these things, just to make it a little bit more real for people.
I was wondering, is that because they each have like piezoelectric capabilities, maybe on different frequencies for each one?
Yeah, now piezoelectricity does come into play with like quartz crystals and the tourmalines. And so, yeah, some of them do have that electrical capacity. I think that what gives crystals their power, it's kind of a twofold thing. One is the chemical composition of each stone, and then the other is the geometric quality of the stone. So each stone has its own chemical composition, and this is what determines their color rays, their energy signatures, and their healing properties, right? And so color in and of itself is therapeutic. You know, for instance, if you are so lethargic and tired and drained, if you work with red or orange or yellow, these are stimulating colors, they'll give you a boost. Or if you are already running too hot, maybe you have a fever, maybe you're angry, maybe you're anxious, if you work with like nice light blue or violet, you know, that'll cool your system down. Or the green color kind of balances things because it's in the middle of the spectrum, so it's healing. And we have all of the color rays in our own bodies, in our chakras. So working with the crystals that have the right color rays can balance the chakras. But then there's more to it than just the color though, because each of these chemical components puts off a specific kind of energy. So for example, certain stones have a high lithium content. Those stones are really good for those of us who get anxious, overwhelmed, because it puts out a calming, soothing energy that can counteract stress, anxiety, tension, and that sort of thing. So stones like kunzite or lepidolite or hiddenite, or a lot of the tourmalines have lithium. Or another really important class of stone are the ones that have copper. Now, copper promotes energy flow and it removes blockages and stuck energy. Like if you take a copper stone and you put it right over a blocked chakra, it acts like a magnet. It starts to pull out anything that's stuck. So the copper stones that you might be familiar with would be like malachite, azurite, chrysocolla, turquoise, dioptase. So those are just wonderful. And then there's the stones that have a high iron content like hematite or pyrite or magnetite. Those have a real grounding, balancing, like anchoring quality, really good for protection. So the chemical composition affects the energy. Then you've got the whole geometric part, because crystals and gemstones, they contain and they project sacred geometry. So even down to the atomic level, all of the atoms and crystals, they come together and they join these perfect geometric lattices. And then the molecules that result always form as one of the 5 platonic solids. So we're talking about the tetrahedron, the cube, the octahedron, dodecahedron, icosahedron, etc. So the energy that they project is very high, it's very pure, it's very coherent, it's very geometric. And then when they're holding this high frequency, if we expose ourselves to that energy, it starts to restructure and repattern our own energy, bringing us into coherence emotionally, mentally, biologically. And this helps us to tune into the higher dimensional realms and raise our frequency. Just kind of like if you ever listen to Joe Dispenza, he's always talking about bringing ourselves into coherence, our brain and our heart, and then we can move into these altered states of consciousness. Crystals will do that for us. So that's why they're wonderful, and they're safe. There's not any weird side effects. So they're just a really wonderful way to treat your energy body.
On the sacred geometry, the geometry of these crystals, do you find that they basically for each chakra fall into a specific geometric shape, or does it vary?
You know what? I was really interested in that topic, and I did do some research on that. And I found one obscure book a long time ago that talked about the fact that there are 7 different crystal systems. Monoclinic, orthorhombic, there's these different crystal systems. There's 7. And they had assigned one crystal system to each of the 7 chakras. So there is some kind of a correspondence there like that. And I found that, in fact, I think I have a chart in my first book that talked about that.
Okay.
Yeah, so I do think
cool.
that there's a connection there.
So would you like to start out with the root chakra, perhaps?
Sure, let's start at the bottom and work our way up. That sounds good to me. All right, so starting at the root chakra, I have a few little notes so I don't get lost here. Okay, so our root chakra, that is a very fundamental chakra that a lot of us, especially who are metaphysical, might need to do a little bit of work on. I know that it's a chakra that I need to do some work on, because a lot of times we're wanting to live out here, but the root chakra is so important because this is our center of grounding, earth connection, physical plane reality, survival. We're here to have a earth experience, so we need to be very present and focused in our bodies. So this is a good chakra for us to work on. So it's located at the base of the spine, the pubic bone area. The traditional color that's associated with it is red. So red crystals can work really well here, but also the black crystals or dark colored crystals work very well because of their grounding quality. The glands that are associated with this chakra are the adrenal glands. And so let me just kind of go through some symptoms that you might be experiencing if you have an imbalance or a blockage in that root chakra. So you might find that you're a little bit ungrounded, a little bit spaced out. Like the other day, I was running into walls because I was really spaced out. That's a sign that you're not really your root chakra could use a little bit of work. Also, if you're like fearful about survival and your safety, it could also manifest as health problems or money problems, being able to make your physical reality work. Also, if you find yourself to be anxious or depressed, or if you have addictions, those can live in this chakra, and abandonment issues. Now, physically speaking, sciatica, poo-poo problems like diarrhea or constipation, or any kind of issue you have with your hips or your knees or your legs or your feet, ankles, that could all be root chakra. So let's talk about some stones that can help us out here. Gosh, I have to talk about black tourmaline, guys. Here's a big old chunk of black tourmaline for you. That's the kind I need when I'm running into the walls. Really big. Now, here's a smaller piece that I think it might be easier to see the striations on this. All right, so Black Tourmaline is a really fantastic grounding stone. It's going to ground you into your body, into your reality, into the present moment so that you can be very effective in 3D. I think one of the reasons I like it is because it does have that striated structure. So I don't know if you guys can see this, but it's got these parallel lines or grooves that are recessed down the length of the stone. I love striated stones because they're a little extra powerful. They kind of act like wands. These lines or striations act like channels or pathways for energies to run through the stone in an amplified way and then be delivered into that chakra like a whoosh of energy. Also,
is that why people use selenite for grids? Because it's similar to that? It has that?
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Absolutely. So they're really great in grids because they can be good connectors, even like between stones, because it's like these lines are like pathways of connection. So they're great. And then, you know, with selenite too, you can run it through your auric field and clear things out and seal things. But yeah, this, I think of it like a little plug that can like ground you into the earth or into your own body. But one of the reasons I think we all need Black Tourmaline is because, as Robert Simmons says, it is the etheric vacuum cleaner, man. This thing can go in there and transmute and clear all kinds of forms of negative energy that are going around, like lower thoughts, negative emotions, even psychic attacks, spells, entities, EMFs from your technology, and it can even help you to release toxins or environmental pollutants that you might have picked up. So this is going to clear everything out. And it is a piezoelectric gemstone, so it has this electrical charge. It actually creates a force field around you that deflects negative energy. So this is going to keep you nice and safe and secure on the planet. It's going to help you if you really need to focus, like say you got to work on your taxes or something and you've got to be very present and sharp. It's going to keep you in your 3D. It's going to keep your 3D functioning very well. And this is also a good one if you're going through a challenging life situation and you're experiencing stress, tension, anxiety, fear, anything like that. It's going to help you to let that go so that you can be really present and focused in the moment. So it's a great stone. Now, the second one I'd like to cover, I think that this is important to talk about right now, and that's Shungite. This is my Shungite Merkaba. Now, this is a rare stone. Most of them come from Russia, and it's got a secret weapon. It's got a secret ingredient in here, and that is fullerene molecules. So fullerene molecules are very recently discovered, I think maybe back in the 90s. What they are, it's these hollow carbon molecular cages that form into the shape of a dodecahedron. Ah, there you go. You need this stuff around your electronics, and we'll get to that. It's good to have. I'm glad you have that right there. Yeah, so these fullerene molecules, when they were discovered, scientists got like so excited, they were on fire. They named it the molecule of the year because they were finding all kinds of applications in like scientific fields, nanotechnology, even healthcare. But what they found is that they provide a host of biological benefits as well. They have antioxidant kind of properties. They help with clearing toxins. They're protective. They are even known to help with cancer and slowing down the AIDS virus. So a lot of benefit to the physical body and taking care of our vessel. That's part of a first chakra kind of thing. But I think it's super useful right now because of the energetic protection that this stone can give us. It helps to neutralize many forms of negative energy, like emotions and thoughts. But it's especially useful for the EMF stuff. And since, you know, we're seeing this rollout of the 5G, 5D sounds fine, but 5G, we don't know what that's going to do to us. So what the scientists demonstrated was that this Shungite can diminish the negative effects of cell phone radiation. They were able to prove this. So it's recommended that you either wear Shungite as jewelry, or you could place Shungite near the source of the EMF radiation, like your Wi-Fi router or your electronic equipment, just to help block out and mitigate some of those negative effects. So I just wanted you guys to know about this because it's one of the best stones out there for this purpose. But in addition to that, it's just a highly beneficial stone for multiple levels of your being as well. So when you wear Shungite, it can actually correct many different energetic imbalances in your auric field. It's known to balance your emotions back out and to give you a boost of vitality and energy. In fact, in Russia, where the stone comes from, they make Shungite rooms. So they get like tiles and they make little rooms of Shungite. They use these in the prison system, actually. And the prison guards, when they're kind of in these negative situations all day and they get really drained and fatigued and out of balance, they have them go sit in the Shungite room, and it rebalances their energy and it replenishes them, and they come out feeling better. So Shungite it's something really interesting that I just wanted you all to know about and go get some. So that's what I had on the root chakra. Should I move on up?
Well, somebody was asking before we move on about Black Tourmaline and how large of a piece should this be and how do we use it? And that was from Violet Lotus.
Okay, hi Violet Lotus. Yeah, now it's kind of interesting because even a smaller piece can work very well. Like a piece that's about this size is what I would normally use if I'm doing a crystal healing session with somebody. It's a good size that just fits nicely on the chakra. And even a small piece like this, if you use it intentionally, it can purify basically your whole auric field. Like honestly, most crystals and stones, their energy can go out a few feet. And if you're within a few feet of just a small crystal or stone, it can be affecting you. One idea, if you just wanted to do a quick cleanse of your whole body with one piece, like a small piece, this is something I just kind of discovered because the stones told me. I never read it anywhere. I do a breathing technique with the stone because I believe the energy of the stone can ride on your breath. So I literally just hold the stone to my nose and I breathe it in. And then I send it down through my chakra column. And then I literally just breathe it into every chakra. And I start at the root and I go all the way up. And then the last breath, I breathe it in and I blow it out. And I just imagine that energy going through my whole auric field. And then if you just wore a piece all day, it should keep you good all day. So
you ever do that? Did you ever do that breathing thing like at Walmart and have people look at you strangely?
I haven't actually done it out in public. I usually wait till I get in the car or I'm home or something. Then
Just curious. I would, and I wouldn't care what people think. That's me. I got a quick question for you too, though.
Sure.
It's about pyrite, which is obviously, it's something that it's good for the root chakra. Why would it not be good for the solar plexus, seeing how it's kind of like goldish and gold like the sun?
It's fantastic for the solar plexus. It's actually a top solar plexus stone because, it has the right color ray, and it's also a masculine type of a stone because it forms in these geometric cubes and shapes. So it has a resonance with things like willpower and strength and a lot of things that are associated with the solar plexus. So I would definitely consider that a solar plexus stone as well as a root.
Well, I guess we'll get to it then on our way up there, right? So we can go to the next chakra if you want.
Next chakra. Okay, so let's move on up the line and we'll go to the sacral chakra next. So this chakra is located about an inch or two below your belly button. And this is your center of creativity, sexuality, life force energy, joy, pleasure, connection with other people. So we want this chakra working well so that you can be having a good time in your life. The color of this chakra is orange, is the traditional color. So I like to work with orange and red stones. But by the way, I just want to kind of backtrack on that a little bit. What I learned in crystal healing is it's always a safe bet to match the color of the stone to the color of the chakra, and you're going to have a good effect. But I want to say there's many cases where there's stones that are a completely different color than the chakra that will still work very well there. So that's not a hard and fast rule. And also I would usually suggest that you follow your own intuition about where certain stones want to go and not a little formula like that.
I think that's a good point, because yesterday we had a show on where we were talking about 30 ways that we're wired differently than most people. And I think that that would be one of the ways too, where, for example, one of the examples I gave was I was diagnosed with ADHD and I was given Adderall, and Adderall being, an amphetamine would usually amp people up, right? But for me, I could take an Adderall and go to sleep an hour later. I'm wired differently, as are probably 99% of the people watching this right now. So that's good advice that you had to, you know, use your own discernment. If you find a stone, you know, say I've got this quartz crystal and I want to place it on my throat, you know, instead of lapis lazuli or whatever, you know, go with it. And I think that's wonderful advice. Thank you for bringing that up.
Like, trust yourself more than any little formula, because you will be guided. If you are coming with this with the right intention, that you're wanting to use these crystals and work with them to create a positive outcome, they will guide you where they need to go. And there's many times when I have them all different than, you know, matchy match with the colors.
So is it kind of like being an alchemist, and especially when you're making a grid, you know, experimenting, placing, you know, all right, this pyrite here and this crystal there, and then maybe switching it around or putting them in different places. Do you find that it gives you different results each time?
It does. It does. So it really is kind of an art form and a science at the same time when you're working with crystals. And it's a lot of listening and feeling and trusting too.
Nice.
So
awesome.
All right. So yeah, so I'll get back to it. Let's see. So we were talking about the color is typically orange, but for instance, like, you know, I oftentimes like to put moonstone on the sacral chakra, and mostly that's white. So, you know, so that's just a general rule. So the glands that at this chakra and symptoms that you might have an issue or a blockage here, difficulty experiencing joy and pleasure, or a feeling of a lack of energy flow, just feeling drained and fatigued. If your sacral chakra is in overdrive, you might be overly emotional or overly sexual, but if there's a blockage, you might have a low libido. Also, addictions can live in the sacral chakra, as well as codependency issues, right? So the first one I want to talk about for the sacral is carnelian. I don't know if you can see how beautiful this one is. This is a very beautiful carnelian. And okay, I have this little alien carnelian guy who just wanted he wanted to say hi to everybody. I saw him in a dream, and then I found him online and bought him. All right. So carnelian is fantastic.
Does he have a name? Did you name him?
This one he hasn't given me a name yet. Most of my skulls have. Wow. This one, I don't know yet. But he came first in a dream, and then he came into my life. So carnelian is a wonderful stone for clearing, opening, and activating the sacral chakra, really getting those juices flowing with creativity, sexuality, vitality. It's a really happy and vibrant stone, and it kind of is like crystalline fire. And fire is interesting because it can clear and it can transmute, it can burn away blockages, but fire is also an energizing force. So if you are feeling totally drained and fatigued and lethargic, like you can't get off the couch, sometimes I feel like that, before you just drink a bunch of coffee, maybe try working with some carnelian and see if it can boost your energy levels. It's a happy stone. It's very optimistic, and it helps with inspiration, especially if you're having a creative block. It can bring in a flow of ideas. It's a stone that helps you get through your resistance, and it moves you into action. So if you have all these great ideas, but you don't seem to have the energy to make them happen, work with this stone. It'll actually, it'll push you into a little bit more action. Now, I am really impressed with carnelian as a healing stone of all things. This stone can boost the functioning of many systems of your body, especially the reproductive system, the lymphatic system, the endocrine system, and the immune system. And let me tell you a little story about that. Like, I signed up to take a class in Portland, Oregon with Gemisphere. It was a crystal class, and I was so excited. I showed up there and I got so sick. I felt like I had strep throat. I had pus on the back of my throat. It felt like I was swallowing razor blades. I had no energy. I thought I was going to die. I showed up at the class. I was wrapped up in a blanket, just laying on the ground, just trying to absorb something. And then we finally got to the point where we were talking about carnelian, and they had us put on a very high quality necklace of carnelian. So I was wearing that necklace. Within 15 minutes, all of my symptoms went away. It was like a miracle. My throat didn't hurt anymore. I sat back up. I started dancing around. I ran and looked at my throat in the mirror. There was no sign of an infection. So that's how quickly a high quality carnelian can boost your immune system and help you to get over something. I was blown away by that. And the other thing about carnelian, it's really a common stone, so it's affordable. Like you can get tumbled pieces of carnelian for like 50 cents. So everybody should get some carnelian.
How do you know what a high quality carnelian is, though?
Yeah. So you want to look at the clarity, like how translucent it is, and then also like the saturation of the color. If it's like a very like vibrant kind of color, it's more about the color and the clarity. And so with Gemisphere, their website is gemisphere.com, and they actually sell the highest quality of gemstones, and they actually have their gemstones rated on a scale of the quality, and they price it accordingly. The price can be a little bit high, but let me tell you, their necklaces work. So, but yeah, even a 50-cent pretty piece can do you a lot of good. Yeah. All right, so another stone for the sacral chakra that I think is really interesting and helpful is Cuprite. Okay, so here's a Cuprite. I don't know how well you can see it, but it's
How do you spell that?
stone. It's Cuprite.
Okay.
And so it's this opaque kind of deep red stone, and it has a high copper content. It's one of those copper stones I was talking about. Here it is in combination with chrysocolla. Look how beautiful that is. So these two often grow together. So the red part is the cuprite. Now, I think this one's important because it's the perfect stone when you are going through a transition in your life or some kind of a rebirth. It helps you to move into a new phase. And I think that that's what a lot of us are going through right now. Even as a collective, we're moving into a new phase of reality. Individually, we're going into new phases of our life. This stone is going to help you to finish up your old business, clear what you need to clear, and then it's going to give you extra energy to reinvent yourself in a new way. So it's very exciting. So like I said, it's a copper bearing stone, and stones with copper, you can stick that right over a chakra and it's going to suck the blockages right out of that chakra. The kind of blockages that Cuprite can really help us with would be to release deep fears or any kind of traumatic experiences, especially if it was a sexual trauma that you've gone through in this life or even in other lifetimes. They can help us with clearing masculine and feminine issues. And I think we're doing a lot of work with the divine masculine and feminine right now. Blocks to creativity and any kind of power issues. This stone is going to really get in there and clear that stuff out. I also like it because it has a resonance with the divine feminine frequencies, the female mysteries, magic, and alchemy. In fact, it's even, I haven't tried this yet, but maybe one of you guys will. You're supposed to be able to meditate with this stone, and it can help you tap into the DNA level of your maternal line so that you can tap into the wisdom and gifts of the whole family line. It's really good for men and for women to help you to tap into your female side, your receptive nature, to get more in tune with the natural rhythms and cycles of life. And if you're a female who is going through hormonal issues, this is going to really help you with your reproductive system, PMS, menstrual problems, or if you're going through that transitional phase of life of perimenopause or menopause, this is going to give you a lot of help and relief. So Cuprite, that's one that I just wanted you guys to know about because it's not quite as common, but it's a really dynamic stone. In addition to that, I forgot to mention that it's super energizing because of the copper. The copper is going to replenish you, and it's just going to really boost the functioning of that chakra to a higher level for people who need it to work in that way. Sound good?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I got a question for you, though.
Sure.
You were saying that Cuprite helps on the DNA level. I've been trying to work on my codons. We have 44 codons in our DNA that are not activated, and I'm trying to figure out ways to activate them. Right. How would I use Cuprite in trying to activate my codons?
Yeah, now that's a good question. It's something that I haven't really tried to do yet. I don't know. I think the first way I would approach it is to realize that the crystals and stones are conscious, and that it's good to communicate with your stones and tell them what it is that you're trying to accomplish. In your case, it is to accomplish the activation of the dormant codons that would be useful for you at this time. So the first thing I would do is just make your intention very clear and like ask the stone to assist you with that. Then maybe you would want to sit with the stone and see if the stone would give you any instructions about where to place it or any specific technique that it would suggest, so that it's kind of a co-creative effort. So I would just be open to playing with it in that way. And maybe, I don't know why, but I'm feeling like if you put it on maybe the higher chakras, it might work well for there. I don't know why all of a sudden I'm getting a hit that like the Soma chakra that's kind of right here at the hairline, which wasn't a chakra I was going to talk about today. There's a chakra right here that I'm feeling like putting the right stones might help with the codons. I'm also getting a hit about another copper bearing stone called Quattro, which is one that I was not going to talk about today. But look, let's see, I have my tray of crystals right here. Let me see if I can find one. Here's a Quattro. This is another copper bearing stone. This one has 4 copper bearing minerals. It's got chrysocolla, shadokite, dioptase, and azurite. And it's in a matrix of smoky quartz. And this one is specifically known to help with DNA activation and activation of more of your abilities. So this one might be another, for some reason, I feel like I wanted to tell you about that one as another one to try. Those two together might
okay. And try them both up there on, what was that chakra that you said?
I've heard it referred to as the Soma, S-O-M-A.
Soma. Okay. I have another question too. And we're getting questions in from the chat room, but they're not really chakra specific yet. So I've been writing them down and we'll get to them at the end. But if you have chakra specific ones, place them in there and I'll ask them while we're going. The other one was, you said you let off with Moonstone, which is very similar to Opal. Would Opal also be one, or for that particular chakra, or is that better for a different chakra?
I think that Opal would actually work very nicely for the sacral chakra, because one of Opal's gifts, one of its many gifts, is to boost the creativity and your imagination, and just to energize you in general. It's an energizing stone. So sure, I think that Opal would be great at the sacral. Yep.
And Scott is asking, any thoughts on fire agate for the sacral?
Fire agate's another one I would definitely recommend for the sacral. It's beautiful. It has that fiery, flashy, iridescent quality. It's very energizing, but grounding at the same time. Agates are wonderful. They're just balancing, earthy, grounding, but that one's got that fire in it. And so, yes, good one.
All right. I guess we can move on to the solar plexus.
Moving on to the solar plexus.
Right.
Okay, this is another chakra that I think a lot of us are working on in this lifetime. It's a pretty important one. So that one's located an inch or 2 above the belly button, kind of halfway between the sternum and the belly button right here. This is your center of personal power, manifestation, strength, willpower, gut level instinct, that sort of thing. The color is traditionally yellow. The glands can be the adrenals or even the pancreas. And then also, if you're having some kind of an imbalance or blockage here at the solar plexus, it can translate as a lack of confidence, a lack of self-esteem, difficulties manifesting your heart's desire. If it's an overdrive, you might be a little bit dominating or misusing your power. Also shame. Shame can live here, as well as this is an area where we can store our stress. Physically speaking, this is your center of digestion. So any kind of digestive upset or disorder, food problems, weight gain, diabetes, even skin problems and metabolism, liver and kidney problems, and arthritis can all show up here. So let me talk about one of my favorite stones of all, which is citrine. Woohoo! This is my favorite citrine. In fact, I don't think that I would be a crystal healer today if it wasn't for this exact citrine, because the moment I realized that I wanted to be a crystal healer, I realized I needed a big influx of money so that I could go to Hawaii and get trained, and I would also need to not have my job anymore. So I sat down with this big guy and I got so clear. I was so clear. And I just told the universe, I don't know how this can happen, but I need a big windfall of money in my lap. And it happened. it happened. And I just quit my job and I became a crystal healer. So these are wonderful manifestation stones.
Citrine, what'd you do, win the lottery?
I didn't win the lottery. It was like oil and gas stuff, but on some family land that all of a sudden worked out. So what happens with this stone, it's like the sun. It's so life-giving and warm and radiant and happy, and it's filled with positive energy. And when you're around a citrine, you can't help but smile, and it moves you into this vibrational space of abundance in just such a clear way. And this has a long time association with prosperity and abundance, but this stone can help you to manifest whatever it is that your heart desires, whether it's greater health, new relationships, new opportunities, you name it.
DNA activation.
DNA activation. Actually, yes, because this stone would be a good activator. It's definitely an activator. So sure, you could work with it for DNA activation, whatever it is that your heart desires. Now, one of the ways it works is that it has a powerful cleansing effect. So it's going to cleanse and clear and purify anything negative, any negative emotions and thoughts, anything that's holding you back from being happy. Just like the sun burns away clouds, this will burn away any clouds in your consciousness and your aura. And the other good thing about it is because it belongs to the quartz family, it can be programmed. So when you program a crystal, it's like you place your intentions, your affirmations, what it is that you're wanting to create into the crystalline matrix where it is stored. And then the crystal will actually amplify your intention and create a magnetic force for drawing these things into your life. Citrine is one of the best ones for this activity. In addition to that, if you are trying to make lifestyle changes that might require some willpower, this is a good stone for you. Like right now, I'm working on my diet and I'm doing a lot of dietary changes. So this one's going to boost your strength and your willpower. It's going to help you stay on track, and it'll help to clear any self-destructive tendencies you might have, and also some residual emotions that might be getting in the way, anger, depression, fear, all of that. Poof, gone. This stone also can make you less sensitive to negative influences in your environment, which is very helpful. So I just love citrine, one of my all-time favorite stones. But then I do want to talk about another one that's a little bit more unusual that I think you guys might appreciate. That's Libyan gold.
Time out. Before you get there, just a quick comment here on, I think you'll dig this. And I'm sorry to interrupt, but
no worries.
I think you'll dig the comment. Oh, where did it go? Sugar. Oh, here it is from Stephanie Allen. She goes, oh my God, when she just twirled that citrine, I got a full body rush.
Woo!
How about that?
Maybe I should do it again. Okay.
Yeah.
Feel the power of citrine, everybody. Everybody put your wishes in it right now. It's going to help you manifest what you want. This is a really good one.
Awesome.
So
Thank you.
Making it available. Here you go.
Yeah. Awesome.
I love that. That's beautiful.
Yeah, that was sweet.
So
yeah.
Very, very cool. Yeah, that's a very special citrine. But yeah, so I was going to move on to Libyan gold Tectite. Okay, so look at this thing. This glassy material formed as the result of a meteorite crash that happened in the Sahara Desert, you know, a long, long time ago. And this meteorite crash happened in the areas of Libya and ancient Egypt. And so the ancient Egyptians recognized that there was power in this stone. And in fact, King Tut was buried with one of these. It was a necklace that was carved into the shape of a scarab beetle. And that's what he was buried in. So this is a Tectite. So it's got that extraterrestrial kind of an energy with it. It's kind of got a blend of extraterrestrial energy and earth material. As such, it has a vibration that's really high and fast and strong and easy to feel as heat and tingling, kind of like the stone Moldavite. So for some people, it's a little bit intense. But this stone is wonderful because it can activate and clear any chakra where it's placed. So you could use this over any chakra to blow it wide open and to clear it out. And it also is going to strongly energize all of the systems of the body. So it's a highly energizing stone. Now it is associated with rapid manifestation, sometimes almost instant manifestation. Also with personal power and getting in touch with your own inner royalty. And that's quite a mindset, because think about it. If you're up on your throne and you're the queen of the universe and you want something, all of a sudden you just like wave your arms and then boom, a bunch of people scramble and make something happen for you. You don't ever worry. You know that whatever you want, it's coming to you. This stone kind of puts you into that mindset where you know you can have it. This is also a great one for those of us who might have problems with boundaries. That's me. Sometimes I have a hard time saying no. This stone is going to encourage you to set healthy boundaries and to say no to situations or invitations or people that might drain you or negatively affect you. So if you got problems setting boundaries, work with this. Now, they recommend that you work with Libyan gold Tectite in meditation or any rituals that you're doing in order to manifest a specific outcome in your 3D life. So just like citrine, it has a quartz content. It's this glassy material, so it can be programmed with what it is you want to manifest. Or you could even just write down a list of what you're manifesting, activate my codons, whatever it is, place this on top of the list and like let it do its magic. So this is a really fun one. The other thing I want to say is that it can also boost your psychic abilities, and it's a great one to place at the third eye because you can meditate with it, and it's supposed to be a key to connecting with the Akashic records, and especially if you're interested in ancient Egypt or any lifetimes you may have had then, or if you're interested in connecting with the extraterrestrial beings who were prevalent in ancient Egypt. So like the Syrians, the beings from Orion, maybe the Hathors, right? This can create a resonance with those beings. So this is a really fun one.
It seems like it's bringing in extraterrestrial DNA as well, because it is coming from, out there.
Exactly. So it's bringing that cosmic infusion down and grounding it into earth material. So I think it's a really fascinating one. And I just wanted to share that one with you guys in case it's a new one to you.
That was, and people are digging it.
Very cool.
Yeah, everyone's digging that. Once again, shout out to Phil Christophers. Thank you for the super chat. Phil is saying, I love Adrienne Goff, saying hi from an Earth Keeper. So,
oh, hi.
Yeah.
Love the Earth Keepers. They're my people. Yes.
I got a question though about, let's see, citrine. You mentioned that it's from the quartz family and it can be programmed. Does that also include the Libyan gold Tectite? Is that in that family?
Yes.
The programmable family?
It is. Okay. It is because there's a quartz content in the sand that fused together to create it. Right. So it has the proper molecular structure to be able to hold a program because of the quartz content. Okay.
And that's wonderful because that's what I do with my, these tie-dye shirts that I have. I put some of the Siesta Key sand into the dye bottle, and then I mix the dye and I dye the shirts, but I also put the intentions, positive intentions, and Ho'oponopono, which you know what that is, right? I'm sorry. Thank you. Please forgive me. I love you. I put that into the shirt as well. So I'm programming each and every one of these shirts to be just like magical.
Clothes. Yeah. That's a breakthrough in fashion.
Yeah. Quantum clothing.
Quantum clothing. That's brilliant. I'm so glad you're offering that. That's amazing. And the sand over there.
You know it.
I know it. I wish I was there right now.
It's kind of chilly here right now, but I don't care if it's cold or not. That means easier parking.
There you go. It's cold here too for some reason. I don't understand. But
I think that was it for questions I had. Let me check the chat room real quick and see if anyone had any questions for this. These comments. Adrienne is very sweet, said Scotty Boy.
Aw.
I'm telling you. If you didn't know her, you'll love her. Did I lie? Of course not. Adrienne's amazing.
Oh, y'all are making my day.
This is just a comment from Paul. I've been highly drawn to citrine for as long as I can remember. Calls me every time I'm around it, anywhere. So it's a pretty powerful stone. Oh, the thing I wanted to ask too, because you were talking about these programmable stones. What stones are not programmable?
Yeah, A lot of stones really are, because almost, okay, so the quartz family is the one that I know for sure you can program.
Mhm.
And let me just talk a little bit about that. And this information is coming from James Tiburon, and he is the founder of the Earth Keepers, and he's the geologist, and he's a wonderful mentor. So here's my understanding based on his information. And his information is coming from Marcel Vogel. So Marcel Vogel is that amazing scientist who was an IBM scientist, and he created the nice Vogel cut crystals that's like Atlantean technology. So what Marcel Vogel had to say is that in the crystalline structure of quartz, there are occasionally missing silicate atoms. It's called the missing lattice theory. And because of that, anything that has a quartz content, the little missing spaces in there act as a black hole that can actually store indefinitely the energy of your intentions. So it has to do with the molecular structure of quartz. And so the quartz family is a huge family, right? So it's not just the clear quartz crystals that you think of. We have quartz, amethyst, citrine, smoky quartz, all of the jaspers. There's a million different kinds of jaspers. The carnelian I just had up there is a kind of agate. All of the different kind of agates, all of these I know for sure can hold your intentions and thoughts. And so anything else, I don't know. It's possible that they could too. I'm not 100% sure that they can.
You're going to want to go through and read the chat room comments, because everybody's discussion about you. They love you.
Oh, well, I love you guys too.
This is awesome. So feel free to continue to the heart.
Yeah.
If you're done, are you done with the solar plexus?
Yes, we're done with the
Okay.
solar plexus. I'm going to move to the heart, because some people might argue that the heart chakra is the most important one of all, although they're all important. But some people say if you can just get your heart chakra right first, everything else will fall into place. And that kind of resonates with me. So the heart chakra, of course, is located at the center of your chest. And this is your center of love, emotional energy, compassion, relationships, all of that good stuff. And the gland it's associated with is the thymus gland right here. I like to thump mine to get my immune system going. And the color ray is green, but also pink. There's a lot of pink gemstones that work very nicely for the heart chakra. So if you are having a blockage or an imbalance at the heart, it could be that it expresses like you have a difficulty accessing your feelings, or that you're emotionally numb or shut down. It also could look like a difficulty giving and receiving love, a feeling of loneliness, or unhealthy relationships. If it's overly active, sometimes you can be overly emotional, right? Like maybe coming from your emotional state at the expense of your logic and reason. Yeah, so those are some signs. On a physical body level, if you're having any kind of heart conditions or respiratory lung conditions, any pain or injury in the shoulders or the upper back, or even like breast issues, breast cancer, that sort of thing. So the first stone, I want to talk about another really unusual one with you guys, because I think you'll really like it. Let me find it. Where'd it go? Okay, here's one that's called Tugtuptite. It's a funny name. It's a rare stone.
How do you spell
it
that?
Comes from Tugtuptite. Tugtupite.
Okay.
I feel like I'm in a spelling bee. I hope I got
know.
that right.
Well, people are going to want to look these up. And
if
I have a question about it, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Tugtupite. Here's a big chunk of Tugtupite. Here's a smaller piece of Tugtupite. This one has more of the white and the light pink in it. This is a stone that comes from Greenland. And Greenland produces some of the most ancient stones that we have on the planet. Like another one that I like that comes from there is Numite. So some of these really ancient stones come from Greenland. Now, Tugtupite has an interesting and rare feature called tenebrescence. And so what that means is this: if you take your piece of Tugtupite, and if you were to rub it for a long time in your hands, or if you were to put it in the sun or expose it to some kind of heat, the color would change. the pink would turn into a dark crimson red. And if I had some ultraviolet light, if I put an ultraviolet light on here, it would fluoresce into this like vibrant red color. So it's really cool. It has this whole color change thing going on with it. Anytime you have a stone that color changes, it can usually help you with shifting things in your life or shifting your consciousness to a higher vibratory level. So Tugtuptite is the one I would recommend if you have shut your heart down due to painful emotional situations in the past, or if you're just feeling really blocked and emotionally numb, not able to access your feelings. Because this guy, you put it on the heart chakra, it blasts your heart chakra wide open for full activation. And it just kind of like opens the floodgates. So all of that emotional energy can come to the surface. And it can oftentimes cause like an energy surge from the heart chakra that goes all the way up into the crown chakra. And when that happens, sometimes people start having a oneness experience. They start having these visual experiences. They get into these states of ecstasy and bliss. So it's almost like it feels kind of like a Kundalini type of an experience that this stone can initiate. And for that reason, this stone has been called the mineral ayahuasca, because it can induce these visionary states and these really high, passionate type of emotional states. So it's a really fun one to work with. And it's very beneficial too, because it's going to help you to clear and release all of that backlog of emotion that you hadn't allowed yourself to feel. So if any of you out there feel like you need help with heart opening, or you just want to play with a mineral ayahuasca, you might want to try out Tugtuptite. Now, another one that I think is lovely, where did you go? Is Rhodochrosite. I think this one is going to be beneficial for all of us. So here is a lovely piece of Rhodochrosite. This one kind of looks like a female goddess figure to me. And then here's my little scully that I got in Sedona one time. Look at the beautiful patterns on this thing. So Rhodochrosite, it kind of looks like a Valentine to me. It's got these beautiful pink and rosy shades in it, and these bands and these swirls and these patterns.
Does that one have a name?
No. I'm sure it does, but I don't know what it is yet. But I've got some more skulls I'll show you that I do have their names. Okay. I promise. Maybe somebody in the audience can tell me what the name is. So anyway, the first mission of Rhodochrosite is a really important one. And that one is that it helps you to fully love yourself. It helps with unconditional love for the self. It has such a sweet and nurturing energy that when you're in the presence of the stone, it can feel like you're just being hugged by the angels. And you're just getting this infusion of divine love that reminds you who you are and how precious you are and how worthy you are of love. So it really does so much to help us to love ourselves. But then the second thing this stone does is it helps us with emotional healing. And here's how it does that. When you work with this stone, it can actually bring to the surface any old emotional hurts, traumas, repressed feelings, anything that you may have stuffed away because it was too difficult to face at the time that something difficult was happening. It brings it up to the surface so that you can face it and heal it. And the other thing this stone does is it helps you to see it from a higher perspective and to understand that there was a reason why that happened. And it helps you to tap into the higher spiritual lessons and reasons. And when you can see it from that perspective, it's much easier to bring in a forgiveness vibration so that you can forgive anyone who may have hurt you, and you can forgive yourself for putting yourself in that situation. In addition to just bringing this stuff up, it also has a clearing energy. So it'll help to clear out the emotions and the patterns. This one also can mend a broken heart. You know, sometimes I work with people and it literally feels like there's some damage around the chakra from these difficult emotional blows that they might have taken. This stone has a way of putting all the pieces back together and bringing your heart chakra into greater wholeness. It also taps you into the wisdom that you gained from these experiences so that you don't have to repeat them. Rhodochrosite is also going to empower the expression of your emotions. And this is something that is very useful for many of us, because sometimes maybe we're scared to express our emotions because we don't know how the other person's going to receive that. So this helps you to feel safe to express yourself, which is beautiful. It also resonates with the inner child. So it can help with any inner child wounding, and it can get you in touch with the healed inner child that is just full of life and wonder and love. So it's just a beautiful heart stone. So any questions about the heart?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
few?
you're not getting off that easily.
Okay.
So, well, all three of these that you named, the two, I'm sorry. Tugtuptite.
Yeah.
I'll learn how to pronounce that eventually.
Yeah, that one's tricky.
Yeah, and the Rhodochrosite. It seems like they're both perfect for purging. A lot of people are going through purging right now, and I imagine it's probably going to bring up emotions. So is this somehow associated with water somehow, some way, because of the emotions?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think both of those stones have their functioning is kind of like a water element because it's cleansing and purging. Maybe I should talk about one other now that I'm thinking about it, just off the top of my head, because you're right. Those two are more about purging. Maybe I should share about one that's more about stabilizing. Because maybe some people are kind of stuck. Maybe they're already having too much emotion coming out and it's a little bit much. If you need to stabilize, let me look at my tray here. How about this one? How about Rhodonite? It's kind of similar to Rhodochrosite, but it's got that black manganese in it. See the big black splotches in there? We like it that it has manganese because manganese has a grounding and balancing effect on the physical and emotional bodies. So this is the one to turn to if you're just emotionally freaking out. Maybe you're experiencing really intense, erratic, out of control emotions. Maybe you're in the middle of an anxiety attack. Maybe you've got excessive anger. Maybe you're so depressed that it's, dangerous. If you're going through any kind of very heavy, intense emotion and you just need to kind of come back to center, Rhodonite might be the one for you because it's going to bring you back into your centered space. It's going to help you to make sense of your emotions and put them in the proper perspective and to build a more stable emotional foundation. So that's a bonus one for you. I wasn't planning on talking about it, but might as well.
Thank you. Erin has a question. She said that her heart chakra burns when I transmute. Is there a crystal that you would recommend to assist with that?
The first one that just popped into my mind was Aquamarine. And that's funny because that's probably one of the next ones I'm going to talk about. Aquamarine is going to help with it when you're transmuting. It's going to help you with that process, but it's going to bring this really calming, cooling, watery quality that just might temper some of that heat that comes along with it, if that makes sense. It might make it a little bit more comfortable. And it'll also help with transmuting. Mm-hmm. For some reason, the sound is off. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, that was me. I'm sorry. I muted myself.
Okay.
I'm good at that. I've done that quite often lately.
I'm not very good at it. Okay.
So Stephanie is asking, is watermelon tourmaline good for the heart chakra cleansing and rebalancing?
Oh, absolutely. Watermelon tourmaline is fantastic for the heart. Okay, so it's a tourmaline. So again, it's striated. It's got those lines recessed down the length of the stone. So it's going to bring in a lot of energy for clearing, balancing, and activating. The watermelon tourmaline, it connects to Metatron and it brings in a really high spiritual vibration. It also balances the masculine and the feminine very nicely because the pink is the feminine and the green is the masculine. It brings in a joy vibration. So it brings a higher vibration into the heart chakra while cleansing, clearing, transmuting, and opening. Yeah, it's fantastic. Highly recommended.
Awesome. And I have a question. Do you need to place these stones directly on the chakras, Or
Mhm.
can you place them in your hand? Can you put them under your pillow? Some women place them in their bras. Can I put one in my
Right.
jock strap?
Right. Yeah, you can. Okay, so yeah,
I
as
snuck
long
that one in there.
it's funny. So as long as a crystal is this is a general rule again, okay? But as long as a crystal is within about 2 feet of your body, it can be affecting you, okay? Now, if you put the crystal directly over the chakra, it might have a little bit more of an impact directly on that area, or the closest to the area that you're trying to treat. It might be a little bit stronger, but it can still have a positive effect, even if it's just within your energy field.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So, throat chakra.
Throat chakra. All right,
All
let's
right.
move on. What am I, let's go, oh, here, oh, there we go. Okay, so throat chakra, what do I want to say about the throat chakra? Okay, so this is a chakra that I personally have had to do a lot of work on. Okay, so the throat chakra is located right here at the base of your neck. This is your center of communication and expression of your truth and your emotions. The color of the throat chakra is traditionally blue. The gland that is associated with it is the thyroid gland. Now, if you've got an issue at the throat chakra, it could manifest as trouble communicating your thoughts and ideas, or maybe having a hard time expressing yourself, especially your emotions. And I know that's been a problem for me sometimes. I'm scared to speak up and say what's on my heart for fear of being judged or something like that. It could also cause problems with your ability to manifest or be creative, because part of the manifestation process is getting crystal clear words about what it is that you want. If it's overstimulated, you might find that you're talking all the time or too much, that anxious kind of talking. If it's underactive, maybe you've got some social anxiety and you're not speaking up enough or something. That's kind of more what I do, believe it or not. And also, this is an area where anxiety and fear and addiction can live. Now, physically, you might have thyroid issues, underactive or overactive, teeth, gum, dental problems, throat infections, TMJ. I've had all those problems, okay? And I'm really happy to say that I've seen a lot of improvement, though, when I've been working with these crystals that I'm about to share with you guys. And the first one is Aquamarine. Now look at this beautiful thing. I mean, Aquamarine is a semi-precious gemstone. When you look at it, I just feel so uplifted and happy and refreshed. I mean, it seems to capture the energy of like waterfalls or a lake or the ocean. It reminds me of dolphins. It's a happy stone. Um, oh gosh, okay. I know the name of this skull, everybody. Look at this skull. This is my Aquamarine skull. Can you believe it? She's a beauty, and she says hello. Her name is Hanali, like the name of the town on the island of Kauai where Puff the Magic Dragon comes from. The first time I ever saw that town, I burst into tears because it was so beautiful. And this skull reminds me of that energy, and Aquamarine reminds me of that energy. So Aquamarine is like the best gemstone I have found for any throat chakra issue you might have. It can help you clear and balance and activate this throat chakra. So it really helps you with your communication, especially if you might need to have a difficult conversation with somebody and you're wanting to find the right words coming from your heart and you want to express yourself in a way that the other person can receive and understand. This is going to help with that. It's going to help move you into your heart chakra and to find the right words infused with love. This one also can help you with any anxiety that you might have, and especially if you have a fear of public speaking. Like I had a little bit of fear to come on here today, right? So I was working with my Aquamarine before I came on. This is a stone that helps you work, it connects to the water element, right? So it has that cleansing, refreshing, flowing quality to it. You could take an aquamarine and you could use it over any chakra that needs to be cleansed, cleared, and purified, and it will help to clear that chakra. It also is known as the stone of release. That's what Naisha Asyan calls it, and that really resonates with me. So this stone can help you to let go of all kinds of things, attachments, patterns, relationships, grief, old emotional states, even physical clutter. It can help you to release those things out of your life. So if you're somebody who likes to hold on and you need a little bit of help to let go, work with Aquamarine. Now, this is also known as the Fountain of Youth stone, and we could all use a little bit of that. At least I sure like that quality. I believe that it's associated with the Fountain of Youth because it has this rejuvenating, regenerative quality, and that's because it works very strongly with your endocrine system, all of the glands. So it activates the pineal, the pituitary glands, and when you're working with the pituitary gland, that's your master gland that regulates multiple bodily processes, and it can help you with your hormones, your metabolism. Also, when you're working with those higher glands, that can awaken more of your psychic abilities. So if you work with Aquamarine, it might also help to strengthen your psychic abilities and your intuition. And it's a fantastic stone for your thyroid. Okay, so I personally have an underactive thyroid, and I've worked with Aquamarine at my throat. I have a really beautiful pendant that I like to wear. And when I wear this on a regular basis and I go get my blood tested, usually they can step me down a little bit on my medicine. So it seems to be boosting my thyroid function to a degree. So anyone who has a thyroid problem, you might want to give that a try. All right, so the next one I want to talk about is really interesting. It's one of my favorite stones for the throat chakra. It's blue apatite. It's kind of got this beautiful, kind of almost bluish green color to it, actually. And I have a skull of blue apatite. Check this one out. Just a beautiful skull. Now, this one is an androgynous skull. It's not male or female. I asked the skull for a name and it just gave me these symbols, and it says, oh, my name can't even be translated into English, but if I had to tell you what I'm about, you could call me Star Bridger because I help connect to the different star places. Okay, so Star Bridger says hello. So blue apatite, it's a great throat chakra stone, but it also has a multi-dimensional activating quality that can awaken your psychic ability, and it brings in a cosmic connection. This stone makes you clearer, it makes you brighter, it brings out your inner radiance, and it expands and sharpens all of your clairsenses, your clairvoyance, your ability to see, your clairaudience, ability to hear, your clairsentience, your ability to feel, claircognizance, all of it. So it boosts all of that, but it especially boosts your channeling abilities. So I think that's really fascinating. But it's going to powerfully activate your throat. It's going to strengthen the throat chakra and your ability to express yourself and communicate. Really facilitates public speaking. And also it's good to keep, if you're in a group setting and there's a lot of people who are trying to communicate their thoughts and ideas, it helps to harmonize group energy and for groups to have better communication amongst each other. And it's my top choice for awakening channeling abilities, which I believe comes through the throat chakra. It will strengthen that channel, and this stone will simultaneously work with your third eye chakra, your Zeal chakra, and your crown chakra. So it awakens your psychic abilities and it opens that channel so that you can access higher dimensional guidance and beings, and it helps you to step that down to the throat chakra and being able to translate and communicate that to other people. So it helps you with channeling. It'd be great for anyone who is trying to speak light language, anybody who's channeling specific beings, or any teacher of higher spiritual esoteric information would benefit from using this stone, or anybody who wants to teach any subject at all will have good luck working with this stone. Now, physically, if you're having dental problems, this is a stone that strengthens the skeletal system and the teeth. It also can boost that metabolism and your thyroid, so that's really fantastic. And this is another one of those versatile stones that you can use over any chakra you want to. It's going to balance the chakras and it's going to clear the chakras. It has this refreshing, flowing quality to it. It kind of feels rhythmic or pulsing to me, and it pulses negativity out of your field, negative thoughts, emotions, chakra blockages, even psychic debris in your field. So this is a good one just to keep you nice and clear. In meditation, it's going to help you to tap into the Akashic records. But here's the part I really, really like, guys. This is a stone that is supposed to be a magnet for UFOs and ETs. And Robert Simmons, the crystal expert, he says that working with blue apatite can attract the attention of the blue-skinned beings. And that really is interesting to me because there's a lot of galactic beings that have blue skin. Some of the ones I know about, Andromedans can have blue skin, Arcturians, Pleiadians, the Sirians, those from Vega, even the blue avians you may have heard of. But like when I work with Starbridger over here, I have an easier time connecting in with, I have a Pleiadian guide. He's really funny. I don't know why his name is Oslo, but that's his name. And he does everything through humor. He makes you laugh. He's just a clown. I have another Arcturian guide, an Arcturian guide, and she's a superstar, man, but she's like an energy technician, and she's almost like a reality hacker of sorts. And I can really connect with those guys much easier with my wonderful blue apatite skull. So just wanted to share about that one. So any questions about the throat?
Well, that the blue apatite, just for those who are looking how to spell that, it's not like it's not appetite as in hungry, but I'm pasting it into the chat room right now. Just want to make a comment though about the aquamarine. It looks almost identical to the color of the water here in Siesta Key. I thought that was interesting. I do have a question though. How quickly will it be before people start feeling the benefits of these gemstones?
Yeah, that is a good question. Sometimes you can feel the effects almost instantaneously. It's amazing. Like for the one example, like what I was talking about when I had like strep throat and I put this necklace on for 15 minutes and all of a sudden all the symptoms were gone. So sometimes these stones, you can feel it within like immediately or within the first 10 or 15 minutes. One thing I should say is that when you're doing this work of placing the crystals on the chakras, the general rule of thumb is that you want to leave them in place for a minimum of 11 minutes. That's what I learned in my crystal healing training, because it takes the body about 11 minutes to fully process and integrate the crystalline frequencies. So give it at least 11 minutes. Now, for instance, when I'm working with Aquamarine to boost my thyroid, I feel like if you're trying to heal a long-term issue like that, wearing like an aquamarine pendant every single day is a good idea because it's going to have a cumulative effect. So sometimes if you're trying to heal something that's, a little bit more difficult, just regular use, and it might take a longer time. So I don't know if that answers a question, but sometimes it can be really quick and sometimes it's cumulative over time. And everybody's sensitivity levels to crystals and stones are different too. Like when I first started working with the crystals, I wasn't that sensitive to feeling the vibrations or the shifts, but after many years of working with them, I feel a lot more and I feel it more quickly. And so sometimes something might be happening, but we just might not feel it. If that
Could you
makes
close
sense.
your eyes and just sense what kind of crystal is under your hand? Can you pick up that energy like that?
If I close my eyes and like I'm doing that right now, I can feel variations and differences, but I don't know if I've honed it to the degree where I can tell exactly what it is. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'm sure there are people on this planet who are farther along and they'd probably be better than me.
Is it possible to have too much of a crystal? For example, if you put one under your pillow and slept on it for 8, 10, 12 hours, is it possible to have too much of something?
That's a good question. I do believe that in most cases, you're probably going to be okay with that. Okay, let me see how I explain this one. It is true that you can get a little bit overloaded with crystal frequencies. So for instance, we've got a really big crystal shop here in Austin, Texas. And if you're very, very sensitive, I know some people, when they walk into that crystal shop, they can feel like they're getting a little bit overwhelmed and overloaded with too many frequencies. Now, here's something that I don't usually get that feeling, although I have had that happen once or twice, but here's why, and here's what I would recommend. I literally have, before I walk into a space where there's a whole lot of crystals, I set a strong intention and I put like an energy shield around me, and I program my energy shield in this way. I say, I am open now to receiving all of the perfect crystal energies at the perfect levels that I can safely integrate at this time. And if there's anything that's too much, this shield will block that out. So I actually set an intention that when I'm around crystals, I'm going to receive what I need in the right amounts, and that energy is going to go where it needs to go. Now, I have a whole room of crystals that I'm sitting in right now. I actually set that intention at my door of my crystal room that when people come in, they're going to receive exactly what's for their highest good. And if something's too much, they're not going to absorb it. And I feel like that works for some reason.
That's a great idea to do that, to program the crystals to interact with the people that come into your house. What a wonderful idea.
Right.
We have a mutual friend, Michelle, who has GERD. What would you recommend for GERD? Which is, I would assume it's a throat chakra kind of.
Yeah. What exactly is GERD?
Well, she ends up like, it kind of sounds gross, but she regurgitates what she eats. She
Okay.
can't swallow any food or anything. It might be solar plexus, but she
right.
can't get any further than like here, and it seems to come back up again. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Let me think about that. I'm hearing Sodalite. I'm hearing Sodalite because Sodalite has more of a stabilizing, balancing effect. So if there's some kind of an acid or weird condition that needs to be like calmed and grounded and balanced, I think the Sodalite is going to have that more balancing effect. And it's also a good healing stone. That's what I'm hearing, Sodalite.
Somebody wants to know if you have any, do you sell crystals yourself?
I should, right?
You should. Is there a store that you would recommend?
Yeah, actually, there are some resources I'd recommend. Okay, so if people are buying online, there's this one website where I've bought, and it's called exquisitecrystals.com. Anytime I've bought from those guys, they have a really good selection. The stuff that they have seems to be really good quality. I've been happy with everything I've purchased from those guys. And also my local crystal shop here in Austin, Texas, naturestreasures.com. They've just started an online store, and they're another source that is very trustworthy. And they've got, the store we have in Austin is one of the largest crystal shops in the whole nation. So we're so blessed to have that here in Austin, Texas. I mean, it's fantastic. That's where I do my crystal classes and everything, but they've got a good online store too. So their website is NT Rocks, like Nature's Treasures Rocks, ntrocks.com. So those are two. And it's funny, you can actually find a lot of good things on Etsy and eBay. You'd be surprised. Now, sometimes if you're buying from those bigger sites, you want to make sure that they have a good return policy, just in case you get something and it doesn't feel quite right, you know. So that's just one thing to pay attention to if you're buying them online.
You actually answered, I have a moderator in YouTube, Tracy T Light, and she said she's going to be in Austin for 3 days next week, and she's, where to buy. She wanted to go to your store specifically, but
I wish I had a store for you, but you would love Nature's Treasures. I mean, it's like going into like a gem and mineral show in there. It's a huge building. They've got every crystal that exists on the planet. They've got a huge showroom, then they've got a whole outside section and a whole other building full of rough material. They've got daily practitioners in the store, and sometimes I'm the practitioner. They've got a huge auditorium that can fit like 100 people in there. So I teach my classes there. It's a great metaphysical resource. So yeah, if any of you guys are in Austin, you should go check out Nature's Treasures.
And you got a recommendation as well from Kathy. She's saying, I love exquisite crystals. So
yeah, that's a good site.
Yeah.
I've been really happy with what I've gotten from those guys.
Okay. So would you like to talk about the third eye?
Sure. Or would you like me to talk about the Zeal chakra? Are you interested in that one, or should we?
No. Give us more information. We can't have too many.
I felt like it might be nice to talk about the Zeal chakra, even though it's not one of the 7 major chakras. It's a really exciting chakra that's coming online for a lot of people. And so if you're not aware of it yet, I wanted to kind of share about it with you guys. So the Zeal chakra, another name for it would be the well of dreams, or I've also heard it referred to as the mouth of God. Now, this chakra is located at the back of the neck and the base of the skull. Kind of, if you feel around back here, it's where there's a little indentation in most people. That's where the Zeal chakra is. And the color ray associated with it is magenta. And I wasn't aware of this chakra until maybe 4 years ago or something. But what happened was this: I had a lot of people coming for crystal healing sessions, and I kept getting directed to work back there. And I'd put my hands back there and I'd feel all this energy going in. And I was telling that I could tell we were activating something. So after having several of those in a row, I thought I'd better look that up and figure out what was going on. So I read about this Zeal chakra, found out it's, in most people, this is a dormant chakra, but it's beginning to come online for many people. And when it's fully activated, this is a really groovy chakra, man, because it is supposed to regulate your multidimensional telepathic communication. So that sounds amazing to me, just to be able to open that line of telepathic communication with the higher dimensional beings. This chakra can trigger the awakening of your Kundalini energy, and it also helps to increase all of your clairsenses, your clairvoyance, your clairaudience, your claircognizance, clairsentience. It helps with astral travel. It will amplify your healing abilities, your empathic gifts, and multiple metaphysical abilities. So this is a chakra I was really interested in. Let's get this one going, right? So obviously, I wanted to find out if there were any people recommending crystals for the Zeal chakra. I found a couple of recommendations, but not very many. The only two I really found were clear quartz. And clear quartz makes perfect sense because clear quartz can activate any chakra that you put it on. So you can't go wrong with clear quartz. The second recommendation also made sense to me because it was pink tourmaline. So pink is great because pink tourmaline is great because it has that magenta color ray, and it's also a striated gemstone. So you stick that back there like a magic wand, and it's going to start to activate that chakra. But I couldn't help but feel like there was probably another stone.
Uh-oh. You're breaking up a little.
Started with certain stones that I have. Finally, it looks like. Hello? I'm not sure if we're frozen,
we're back.
so I'm going
We're
to keep
back.
talking.
We got you.
Oh, okay. Did we miss
Yeah,
anything?
you were
It looked
breaking
like
up a
it
little there. And
Oh, okay. Yeah. So just to recap what I was saying, I just kept experimenting with my own stones until I found Eudialyte, and I put that back there, and it was like light bulb went off. Eudialyte or Eudialyte. So this is what it looks like. This is a polished piece. They're physically and energetically pretty complex stones. They've got that magenta color ray, also pink and red and rose, a little bit of green and violet and white. They've got a lot of different colors. This is what it looks like if it hasn't been polished. So
how do you spell that?
Okay, so that's spelled Eudialyte. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Eudialyte. Okay, so this is a really interesting stone. It's got all of those color rays in it. It's got that magenta that we like to see. And here's what Melody had to say about the stone. Melody is the author of Love is in the Earth. And I'm really sorry because I just heard recently that she transitioned, and she sure did give us such a huge contribution of our knowledge of the mineral kingdom. So Melody, we love you and we thank you for what you've taught us. But this is what Melody had to say about the stone. She says it was demonstrated that if you were to hold a Eudialyte for at least 1 hour, that it will measurably increase your alpha and your beta brainwave states simultaneously. And that was really exciting for me to hear. So your beta state of consciousness, that's your everyday alert, awake state of consciousness that we're operating in right now. But your alpha state is more of your daydream imagination state of consciousness. And that's where you're accessing your intuition, your psychic ability, your creativity, and even your higher dimensional connection. So this stone can help you to be in both of those brainwave states at one time. And Eudialyte is known to help to develop telepathy, clairvoyance, clairaudience, and your channeling abilities. And it's known as a fine tuner of transmissions. So actually, if you meditate with this, it's going to help you to hone in on the important vibrational information that's coming in while tuning out the extraneous noise. So it helps you to get much more clear psychic impressions. This stone is also known to help clear the channel from your root chakra all the way to the top of your head, and it activates a Kundalini experience, which is exactly what this chakra is all about. And it's known to bring an increase of synchronicities in your life, and it moves you into that higher flow. It's also a really good balancing stone. So it can help to harmonize your mental and your emotional bodies. It connects your spiritual body to your physical body. And it just brings in the joy vibration and a feeling of oneness with the universe. So I think this is a really dynamic, exciting stone. And a lot of people, I don't think, know about it. So if you guys are interested in working with this Zeal chakra, just like get a flatter piece like this and just stick it back there and chill out for like 15 minutes at a time. When this one begins to activate, sometimes it can cause some tension back there. So just be aware of that, but really exciting stuff. So shall I continue?
Please.
Okay, so we'll move on to the third eye chakra. This is a good one. I think that a lot of us are really interested in the third eye chakra, especially those of us on a metaphysical path, because we're wanting to awaken our psychic abilities, our psychic connections, our intuition, all of that stuff. So of course, the third eye is located right here in the center of the forehead. It's your center of psychic intuitive ability, but it's also the center of your mental body, your intellect, your reason, all of that good stuff. So the gland that's connected here is the pituitary gland, which is your master gland. It also regulates the body, but it has a connection to your psychic abilities as well. And the
Why would that not be the pineal gland instead of the pituitary?
My understanding is that the pineal gland is also connected more to the crown chakra, but I have seen some diagrams that say that have the pineal also connected to the third eye. So I guess it's whichever diagram you're looking at, but okay. I associate both the pineal and the pituitary gland as having some kind of role in your psychic and intuitive ability. Is that your understanding? I'm sorry to
interrupt there.
Oh, no. That's good for clarity, because I've seen, you read different sources and they have a little bit of a different take on it. But yeah, so I'm saying in my experience, I believe the pituitary gland can be worked with through the third eye chakra. And the color rays are purple and indigo. So if your third eye is blocked, you might feel like you're really existing in 3D and you're not as connected to your intuition or your psychic ability. It could express as a lack of ability to concentrate. Or here's what happens to me. A lot of times I feel like my third eye might be in overdrive. And sometimes when that's happening, you might start overthinking everything, like there's like too much mental activity at the expense of feeling things out, like you're just really in your brain and your logic and your reason. And you can get stuck in mental loops where you're having the same thoughts over and over and that sort of thing. Physically, it could express as headaches, especially I get that when I'm thinking way too much, nightmares, hallucinations, or even learning difficulties or neurological issues, basically. So, okay, it's really hard to just talk about two stones for the third eye because there's so many good third eye stones, but I'm going to try to just narrow it down to two. The first one that I really wanted to share with you guys is Charoite. I love it so much that I'm wearing this gigantic necklace of it. It's like as big as my face.
Beautiful. How do you spell that? Well, I hate to give you spelling bees all day.
That's all right. It's Charoite. Charoite.
Okay.
I think this is a really important one when we're going through big times of transformation because it can help to balance multiple levels of our being. And they're beautiful, right? So here's another piece. They've got these beautiful kind of undulating shades of purple and violet, but they've also got some black manganese dendritic pieces and a little bit of white, a little bit of gray. Some of them have a touch of gold in there. They're beautiful. So we love this because it's got that strong purple ray. The purple ray is what connects to the higher chakras and the higher dimensions, and bringing in more light for spiritual and psychic awakening. But the black dendritic inclusions give it a grounding and balancing effect on the physical, mental, and emotional bodies. So this has the effect of helping you to access your soul's energy, the wisdom, the love from your soul, and even your divine blueprint, and then to ground that into your conscious awareness, into your body, and into your reality. So we like that because it reaches the highest spectrums of light and it grounds it so that you can use it here. Okay, so this is the stone to grab when the energies are going crazy on the planet. So I know sometimes I wake up and I check the Schumann resonance on the In5D page and it's off the charts and you can feel it, or maybe it's the 2222222 wave coming in, or maybe we've got an equinox, or we've got an influx of energy, right? When that happens, you want to work with Charoite because Charoite helps you to adjust to an influx of higher frequencies hitting the planet. It assists your body to safely process and ground that energy. So it actually prevents you from getting overloaded or overwhelmed with too many frequencies that are hitting the planet. Because when all these energies are coming in, if they're not properly processed by your body, you start getting those ascension symptoms that can be very uncomfortable, like the headaches that go on forever, not being able to sleep at night, feeling dizzy, feeling, oh, I love this one, when you're just so tired you can't even move. Like, that's a really fun one. So if you are feeling ascension symptoms, you want to grab some Charoite because it's going to help your body to be able to process what's coming in, and it can alleviate the ascension symptoms. So I'll get back to the third eye though. On a mental body level, you want to work with stone because it sharpens your mind, it increases your discernment and your analytical abilities. And this is really good, especially in the current climate when we've got so much information coming from everywhere and it's hard to tell what's true and what's not. This helps you to kind of reason through things. Now, spiritually, Charoite's going to enhance your intuitive and psychic ability, all of your clair senses. And if you're a healer, it's going to fine tune your ability to channel energy or to do your healing modalities. And for those of us who are trying to figure out our highest spiritual path or what your mission is, why you're here, it's going to help you to become more aware of your higher purpose. And that it increases the flow of synchronicities to get you into alignment with what you're really here to do. It just moves you into this higher energetic flow. So we love that. We also love that this is a powerful healing stone that can strengthen many different systems of the body. It's even known to transform illness into wellness. And part of how it works is it can bring up what the root cause is of why you're experiencing something. And at the same time, it connects to the violet flame of transmutation. It brings that purple fire energy to transmute and clear any blockages that you're having. So again, this is a versatile stone that you could use over any chakra for clearing and for healing. And for those reasons, I think everybody needs Charoite. And then finally, okay, I had a hard time deciding what to talk about, but I had to go with Moldavite, guys.
Hey.
So yeah. So there's a really nice piece of Moldavite. This is like a grade A++ Moldavite. So it's really translucent. It's got a lot of interesting texture going on. It looks like a little leaf to me, but this is my favorite Moldavite. So we've got, what we have here is a glassy green Tectite. It is a gemstone that is born of the stars. It's a perfect one for star seeds because it has that galactic extraterrestrial energy fused with earth material. So this one, it formed as the result of a meteorite crash that happened in Czechoslovakia 14.8 million years ago. As such, just kind of like the Libyan gold Tectite, it has a vibration that's super high, and it can be easy for people to feel it as heat or vibration or tingling. It can be a little bit intense for some people. Some crystal experts, they suggest that you work with it in small doses until you get used to its energy, maybe 30 minutes at a time and work your way up. Now, for some people, though, they feel right at home with this stone. It doesn't bother them in the least. And some people have a theory that it's because they're star seeds, right? And so this vibration of the stone might feel just like their home planet or something. Now, the way I see Moldavite, it's an accelerator. It's going to put everything into overdrive. It is an accelerator of energy. It's an accelerator of evolution. And I think those of us who are light workers or star seeds or here on a spiritual mission, this one is going to help you to do your mission and to help upshift the consciousness of this planet. So it's a quantum leap stone, guys. This is going to take you from here to here, like really quickly. And here's how it works. It starts to bring in this really high vibrating frequency into your field. It's going to activate and clear all of the chakras simultaneously. And then it's going to raise your light quotient really high. So then you're going to be vibrating up here. Now, the thing is, when you're vibrating up here, there might be some situations in your life that are still vibrating down here. And those things might start to shift out of your life. So that's a warning that people give with Moldavite, because all of a sudden, oops, that relationship's no longer in alignment with my new vibration. It's gone. Oops, that job, it's not what I'm really supposed to be doing. So I just got fired. Oops. So it can turn things, make things kind of go topsy-turvy for a second there. But if you can make it through that purging phase, the next thing that happened can be really beautiful, because it'll initiate a windfall of synchronicities, of new opportunities, new connections that are aligned with your highest good and your highest mission. So it's going to start bringing you all the resources that you need to rock your mission. Very beautiful process. Now, this is another one that's going to very quickly activate your higher chakras, your psychic senses, your spiritual gifts, especially if it's anything that you need for your mission. Like if you're here to be a channeler of light language, all of a sudden you might start speaking it. It's going to work with your intuitive knowing. It's going to help you with telepathy, multidimensional travel, remote viewing, energy healing, all kinds of things. But it's especially good for helping to enhance your meditation and your dream work. And especially if you're interested in having vivid encounters with higher dimensional beings, galactic beings in particular, you might find yourself really making that connection where ET is phoning you. So that's really fun. But Moldavite can help you answer these questions. Where are you really from? What am I really here to do? And it's going to bring you the energy and the insights that you need to rock your mission. So that's why you just got to love Moldavite if you're brave enough to work with it. So those are my third eye choices for today.
Well, if you want that connection with your galactic neighbors and or beings, make sure you protect yourself beforehand. You don't want to let you don't want to let malevolent beings in either.
Thank you for saying that.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's a really good idea to set a strong intention and boundaries anytime you're doing any kind of meditation work about what kind of energies you're wanting to connect with. Make that very clear. I usually say something like, I only want to connect with beings that vibrate at 100% pure love. That's how I put it.
I would say only those of the highest vibration of truth, love, and light are welcome.
I like that even better. Yeah.
So we do have some questions. One is from Sally about Moldavite. Is that good for manifesting?
I would say yes, because first of all, it's going to clear anything that's blocking the manifestation. Secondly, it's got an amplifying effect and an accelerating effect. So I think that if you focused an intention on what you want to manifest with the stone, it would probably speed up the manifestation process for you.
Okay. I was at a Motley Crue. Actually, it was a Vince Neil concert. He was singing all the Motley Crue songs, but I'm right there in the front row. I'm like, and had a Moldavite ring on it. It just flew off, and I figured, hope somebody in the band got it. They could probably use it. But I got another question from Elaine. She's asking, why does Moldavite cause headaches?
It could cause a headache because of the energetic intensity of the stone. It might be like, bringing in so much energy that it's too stimulating to the mental body and it overloads your system a little bit. So if you are experiencing any kind of aches or pains or discomfort in your head or anywhere in the body, it might be a sign that you need to take a break with it for a little while, or do what I said earlier, like do it in small doses, and then you'll get used to the vibration, and then you'll be able to hang with it for longer periods of time, and you won't feel that way, is what I would say.
We have a comment in the Zoom chat from Desiree. She's saying that Charoite is her
Char.
favorite stone to work with. So yeah.
Oh,
It
beautiful.
comes
I
up
know.
on our
I think it's one of those essential must-have stones, especially in these times.
Okay. So is
Mhm.
there a chakra I need to know about between the third eye and the crown, or are we going to go to the crown?
Let's go straight to the crown. We touched. There is a kind of soma chakra right here, but
Oh,
we'll
that's
skip.
right. Yeah.
But
No.
I don't really have any material on
Okay.
that for
We'll skip it.
that one. We can just go straight to the crown.
Okay.
Okay, so the crown chakra, located right at the top in the middle of the head. This is basically your spiritual antenna. That's the way I see it. This chakra governs your connection to your soul and to all kinds of higher dimensional beings, such as angels, masters, galactics, spirit guides. It's also the gateway for higher frequencies to come in and start integrating with your biosystem. It regulates the pineal gland, and that is a gland that is a strong connection with your psychic abilities. The color rays are violet, purple, white, or gold. And if you have an imbalance here, it can manifest as a feeling of disconnection from spirit or from your body, a sense of depression or a lack of direction, or feeling just kind of like, I don't know why I'm here, not in touch with your inspiration or your purpose. It can manifest again as headaches or brain or nervous system issues. So, and there's a lot of great stones for the crown, but I really wanted to talk about Elestial quartz because it's one of my favorites. So, Elestial quartz is a master quartz formation. It's one of the 12 master crystals as defined by Katrina Raphael. She was my teacher who I got my training from, and she wrote the book on this. So, the Elestial quartz, here's how you identify it. Here's my favorite one that I own. It's a quartz crystal that has an etched or layered appearance. I don't know if you can see it well here, but there's lots of layers inside of this crystal of different things. It looks like a circuitry or something. Or it can also look like this, a quartz crystal that has points or terminations all over the face and the body of the crystal. So this one has little crystal points all over it. So that's an Elestial quartz. And I love what Robert Simmons has to say about Elestial quartz, and it 100% resonates with my experience. He describes them as multi-dimensional switchboards that can link multiple timelines, dimensions, and levels of consciousness to one another. And he also says they're the perfect medium for light codes, love, and information to be transferred from the higher dimensional planes into the human body consciousness and experience. So the light code thing, I totally resonate with what he's saying here. I don't know, you guys may have had this experience. Maybe you were doing a meditation and you got pretty deep and you were going from alpha to theta. Or I've experienced this too when I'm falling asleep and I'm in the twilight state, kind of between awake and asleep, the hypnagogic state of consciousness. And all of a sudden you start seeing the most bizarre stuff, right? And it looks like it could be like these geometric symbols all over the place. It could look like some kind of writing in another language. Sometimes it looks like long, complex mathematical equations, dots and dashes and Morse code looking stuff, but it's like all this information you can start to see. And I believe those are light codes. And for me, what a light code is, it's like seeds of etheric instructions that are integrating with the crown and the higher chakras. And the purpose is to upgrade your biosystem. So I believe these codes are coming in to awaken the higher chakras, the glands, the subtle energetic circuitry in the head, and the psychic senses. So anytime I see that stuff, I'm really happy because I don't know exactly what it means sometimes, but usually after I see it, there's an upshift in my psychic abilities.
Well, that reminds me of what you were just talking about, the Schumann resonance. And what we see like right here are these little dots like Morse code. That's going on.
Yeah.
It's really interesting that's at the 24 marker. Earth's resonance is at 7.83. We have a line right here, which we have more dot Morse code kind of thing going on right there at 16. And then when you triple that, it's even more. So I've always said there's something deeper that's going on with these little dots. And I think you're hitting the nail on the head.
That's really interesting. There could be some coded information there.
Yep.
And
That we can
watched
get just by
that
looking
way.
at it. Yeah.
Yeah. There's so much going on there, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So very, very interesting. So yeah, the first time I had a very vivid experience of seeing light codes was when I was meditating with this big guy on my couch. I was zoning out and I was kind of getting in that zone where I was falling asleep, but I was still very conscious. Next thing you know, I saw it looked like somebody dumped a math textbook into my head. I saw line after line after line of these complex mathematical equations that I don't know what the heck it meant, okay, because I don't know math. I mean, I'm good with words, but I don't know anything about math. And it just kept coming. It just kept downloading into my head. And I'm just like watching the math show. And then finally that kind of chilled out and it stopped. And then another wave came in, and this looked like writing, but it looked like some other language. I didn't know what it was, but it looked like a language. And then later something dawned on me. It's like, I've seen that before. And then I remember where I saw it. I was speaking at a conference in Pagosa Springs, and it was a galactic ET conference. And we had this amazing speaker who was like a representative of the Arcturians. She had all the Arcturian language written on a board, and she showed it to us. And I'm like, that's what I saw. It was some form of an Arcturian language. So after that, I'm like, yeah, this is the stone that brings in those light codes. So if you are interested in bringing a download in like this and maybe being able to see or sense it, work with Elestial quartz. I also love what Naisha Asian had to say about this stone, because she says that Elestial quartz connects to the full spectrum of light, the highest spectrums of light, and then it steps that energy down and it regulates it, and it brings in an infusion that's the perfect amount and level that you can easily and safely integrate in that moment in time. And so it brings you just the right amount of codes, not too little, not too much, because I think we've all had the experience of being overloaded with too much energy, and that's not very comfortable because it feels like it might fry your system. So if you work with Elestial quartz, you're going to get the perfect amount and infusion of light, and it's always going to adjust as you're able to handle more. That crystal is going to bring in more, so it's going to be perfect for the long haul. This is one that can help with brain issues. It can help to, if you've had any kind of brain damage, it heals the brain and it upgrades the brain. In healing sessions with people, sometimes I get the sense that this stone is like working on the subtle energetic circuitry and doing some rewiring, and kind of helping to enhance new neural nets and coming into place. So I think it really upgrades the brain. But it's also just a great crystal that you can work with over any chakra, again, because it's going to open and clear on a very, very deep level. This thing goes in there and it cleans house, man. So it'll go to the root causes of whatever your issues are, and it just clears out the patterns. So highly recommend Elestial quartz. It's a superstar. And then the other one that I would like to cover today is another beautiful one. So this is Apophyllite. I don't know if you can just see or sense what a beautiful high vibration crystal this is. It's got an energy that is very sharp and very clear and very pure and very high. It's got a really refined vibration. It forms into all of these beautiful shapes. Here's another one. Just very beautiful and sparkly, very happy stones. Now, Apophyllite has two different things going on with it. One is that it has a high water content. We like stones with a high water content because they're good conductors and transmitters of energy, and especially light codes from the higher planes into the crown and into the brain. So we like the water content. The water is also cleansing and purifying. But then this stone is highly geometric. As you can see, this one is forming into some pyramid shapes. They often form into pyramid shapes or even into cubes. And we like it when we have a pyramid shape because the pyramid will actually amplify and focus your consciousness so that it's easier to tune into the subtle realms. When you have the square or the cube shape, this is a more masculine shape. So it's going to actually help to ground and stabilize the higher frequencies so that you can easily process and integrate the incoming light codes. So it's good to have the pyramids and the cubes in a crystalline form. Now, the apophyllite will activate that pineal gland. It stimulates it, it activates it, and that translates into an awakening of more of your psychic senses, clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, claircognizance, all of that good stuff. This really fosters good communication with higher dimensional beings or your higher self in meditation or in dream work. It helps you to be able to hold on to the psychic impressions and information that you're getting and to bring back what's useful in your life now. So it organizes it in that way. And the other thing is, it helps with just clarity. It's such a nice, clear, sharp stone. It helps you to get clear in your life. And when I'm holding this right now, I mean, it feels like it's vibrating me up into the higher dimensional realms, into a more divine place. There's a sense of peace. There's a sense of like relaxation and calming and well-being that this can bring in. So a little vacation from 3D. How about that? So that's
Okay, so when you have this celestial quartz or this apophyllite,
Mhm.
do you place it on your head? Do you lay down and put it at the top of your head? And is there a certain size that works better than others?
Right. Yeah. So what I do, I like to lie down with my head on a pillow and just, yeah, stick it right behind the head. Now, one thing they taught me in my crystal healing class is you can get another, like a thinner pillow and stick it behind your head. So you can prop it so that it's almost right in the middle of your head. If you want to be real precise, you can give it a little lift so it's pointing right at the center of your head. Although I think it's still going to have a strong effect even if it's down, like right at the bottom part of your head. But that's just a tip they gave me in my classes, so I pass it on. Now, questions about the size of crystals. That's a good question. Okay, I'm going to give you a general rule, and then I'm going to give you my perspective. So as a very general rule, if you have two of the same kind of crystal, and they're the same, okay, you have two crystals, so they're the same kind of crystal, and they're the same quality, like they have the same clarity, and they have the same kind of saturation of color. If you've got one that's bigger, in general, that's going to put out a stronger energy field. Okay, so that's the general rule. However, I haven't always found that to be true. I've got to say, there's been times when I found a crystal, like, let me show you. Can I find you? Like this little teeny tiny phenakite right here is little, but its energy field is humongous. I don't know what it is about the life force energy or the crystalline frequency of this particular phenakite, but the energy field is huge. Even though it's a little tiny thing, if I stuck this back here at the crown chakra, I think it'd have a big effect. I've also come across giant crystals that are like 200 pounds, you know, that seem to be taking a nap, like they're just not very activated and they're sleeping. Okay, so sometimes size doesn't really matter. So that's where it gets a little bit confusing, and you just have to kind of trust your own instinct about how strong a crystal is. Or if you wanted to get a little more technical about it, I guess you could get a pendulum out, and you could, if you're good with a pendulum, and you could ask questions. How far does the energy field of this crystal go? Does it go at least 2 feet? Yes, no. Does it go at least 3 feet? Yes, no. So you can maybe measure it that way.
Would your answer vary if you're using a crystal pendulum?
What's that? What do you mean?
Well, not all pendulums are crystal.
Oh, right.
Right.
In my experience, I've worked with crystal pendulums, and I've worked with like wood pendulums and different materials. And for me, they all work about the same.
Okay.
That's just been my experience. Maybe somebody else has a different experience.
Okay. Well, would you like to handle some questions? I don't know how you're doing on time.
Yeah, I think I have time for a few.
A few. Oh, gosh.
Or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I've got a few, but I know that everyone also has a few here too. But let me ask you a couple, and then I'll ask a couple from the room too.
Okay.
Have you ever had a past life regression? And was it confirmed that you were a healer in a past life?
I have done some of my own kind of meditation where I went into some of my past lives. And yes, I think I had a series of lifetimes in Atlantis where I worked with crystals and knew a whole lot about it in those lifetimes. And I do feel like I've had some other lifetimes too, where I was in some kind of a healing capacity. So yes, and that's just for me kind of working and going into meditation and asking to see and then getting little snippets of information. But I do feel pretty clear about the Atlantean ones.
Okay. So a lot of people experience these high-pitched frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
And as we know, each chakra is also associated with a planet, and a chakra expression and so on and so forth. And you've shown us that there are various gemstones and crystals for each chakra. How can we use these gemstones and crystals for these high-pitched frequencies, each of which has a different chakra associated with them?
Yeah, so I'm trying to see if I can understand the question. Like, yeah,
Well,
I'm not sure.
If each chakra, for example, I hear high-pitched frequencies, and I can tell you what I'm hearing right now. It might be a C, I don't know what it is.
Okay,
but
right.
I can figure it out on a guitar, what that high-pitched frequency is. How would I attune a stone, or how would I know which stone is best to
Like
work?
maybe are there certain stones that have that resonate with on the scale with the musical frequency?
Well, what I'm looking at, I'm thinking that, okay, so say that it's, let me go back to the screen share. Let's see. So here, yeah. Hey, I'm sorry to fly by so quickly on this.
No worries. Yeah.
But every note has a chakra. For example, on this particular day, on September 12th, the high-pitched frequency was a B major, which was the crown chakra.
Oh,
so
cool.
I guess what I'm asking is, are there specific tones that would work best for each chakra when it comes to high-pitched frequencies, or does it matter? Should I just use what you suggested, like the Elestial quartz for that day when I hear these high-pitched frequencies in that tone?
Right. Yeah, that's a good question. I think you could definitely use my suggestions and it would work, but what I would probably recommend is just to tune in and trust your own intuition about what stone feels like it's the right resonance with the high-pitched sound and the chakra. Just like, I would just ask, because the stone will probably tell you which one is the best and the most appropriate for what's incoming or what you're hearing. I don't know if that really answers your question, but
No, it does. And I appreciate
you know.
that. Thank you. Here's a question from I Am, which is related to this question I just had. Does solfeggio sound frequency affect programming crystals?
That's a good question. I don't know for sure, but if I had to wager a guess, I would think that it would enhance the programming and enhance any work that you're doing with crystals because of the vibrational frequency is high. So I would just play around with that. And my guess would be that would make it all more powerful and more effective.
Here's a question from one of our moderators, Tracy T. Light. She's going to be in Austin next week. What do you think about using crystals and sacred geometry together?
Beautiful. Love that idea. And one of my favorite ways to use the crystals and the sacred geometry together is in the building of crystal grids. Because since crystals have that inherent geometry inside of them, like I said, all of those molecules form sacred geometry. It becomes even more powerful when then you get the crystals and then you arrange them into sacred geometry shapes. It's like a big synergy that happens. And they've found that you can actually measure your crystal grids using dowsing rods and other methods. And it's interesting that you can measure that the force field that a crystal grid can put out can be very immense. Like in this one class that I did, we made these little tiny crystal grids, but in sacred geometry shapes, very simple, like triangles or squares with crystal chips. And after we activated them, sometimes those grids would be like 50 feet, even for a tiny one. So I do think that there's a harmonizing and a synergy that happens when you do that. Or you could just, take find images of sacred geometry, put crystals on top of it. It'll just amplify it, make grids, carve crystals into the shape of sacred geometry. There's a lot of ways that you can work with the two together. But yeah, they're born to work together. Yeah.
Two people want to know about azurite. The question on that would be from Phil is it programmable?
Well, okay. I love azurite, by the way. That's another copper-bearing stone that is really good at removing blockages, and it's really good at activating the third eye. And Edgar Cayce worked with it a lot, and it really induces visionary states. It was very revered by many Native American tribes as a stone of wisdom and insight. Is it programmable? That's a good question. It wouldn't follow the missing lattice theory because I don't believe it has a quartz content, but I'm not sure. Maybe it still can be programmed, but you can try it and see if it works. But even if it's not programmed, I believe that it would help to amplify your intentions because the copper content would amplify.
Okay, I'm not, here's another one. Sorry to bombard you with all these questions, but there are so many great questions and people are so curious, and you're the best person I know to ask these questions.
Oh.
What are the most powerful crystals for drawing out our innate psychic abilities? What would you recommend for the best one?
Okay, so one that just popped into my mind. Okay, anything that's amethyst is going to be fantastic, but there's a specific kind of amethyst called aurolite. Have you heard of aurolite?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've got one around here. Here's one. I like aurolite. So this is from the quartz family, and it's a form of amethyst. But what's really special about aurolite is that it can have up to 21 other mineral inclusions inside of it. So it has really high vibration inclusions like platinum and silver and gold and covalite and malachite and all of these things. This one in particular has strands of platinum in it. Wow. And I've just had really good results with clients and with myself of people coming to get crystal healing sessions for me, and they have a very specific goal of awakening more of their psychic abilities. And I've had at least one experience where I put somebody on the table, I put an aurolite on their third eye for about 30 minutes. And then once they got off the table, they were seeing auras for the first time in their life, like instantly. This one is known as a really strong activator of all of those clear senses. So aurolite comes to mind, or any form of amethyst, even the Super 7 would be highly recommended, or the ones that I talked about, of course, the Moldavite and the Charoite would be very good. But you can't go wrong with anything in the amethyst family.
Well, that brings us to the next question by Alex. Can amethyst be used as used for DNA activations?
I'm hearing a big yes. I do believe that it can help us with that. And I'm not exactly sure why. I'm just hearing, I was just holding this aurolite and it's screaming at me, yes. So I think anything from the amethyst family could be used with intention to work with the DNA. And it's another one that's programmable. So you could program it to help you with that.
I don't know who asked this question, but it's a fantastic question. I forgot to write the name down.
Uh-huh.
Can any stone be used to end a connection, like a twin flame connection, and make my old happy self again?
So, okay, yeah. Of the ones that I talked about, Libyan gold Tectite, in fact, is really good for clearing out any old cords or contracts or any hooks or anything like that, to where if there's an unhealthy dynamic there and it's a karmic past life thing, or this can help to sever any connections that are harmful for you. So the Libyan gold, out of the ones I talked about, but there are some other ones that are good for that too. Let me think. One of them, it's kind of an intense stone, but it's called stibnite. Have you heard of stibnite?
That I have not.
Let me see if I've got one of those.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. Hang on. I have to get up. Oh, hi, Kitty. You want to be on the video? All right, so here it is. You've got stibnite. Now look at this thing. It's kind of a metallic looking stone and it's got the striations in it. It's really powerful.
How do you
This
spell
thing right
that?
here.
Sorry to quiz you
Oh,
again.
sure. Stibnite.
Okay.
Be a good one, like a little sword, just cutting any kind of connections that are no longer serving you, especially if they're karmic in nature or from other lifetimes. This one's also a very powerful manifestation stone. In fact, it's so powerful that they say sometimes if you're handling it, to just be very clear and conscious of what you're thinking, because it can start the manifestation process almost instantly. So they do say exercise a little caution with stibnite, but I think that one would work very beautifully.
Okay. I had a question in the chat room, but I wasn't sure what she was asking. So I hope she can re-ask it. I only have a couple more left here.
Okay.
Why is the skull such a popular shape of crystals and stones in expression?
Oh, beautiful. I love, love, love that question. Yeah, the crystal skulls, it's a whole thing. So just a little bit of backstory about the ancient crystal skulls. There's a legend that there were 13 original ancient crystal skulls that were brought here possibly from other planetary systems, or they were made with a technology that's way more advanced than anything that we have now. One of the ancient crystal skulls that people might be familiar with is Max. And what's interesting about Max, that crystal skull, he's made of like 4 different quartzes that are coming in at different angles. And if we were to try to carve that crystal with today's technology, it would have shattered into at least 4 pieces. So we don't even have the technology to make some of these skulls today. So the idea is that these skulls were deliberately programmed and that they are vast libraries of information containing all kinds of cosmic records and codes. And they're supposed to also contain the blueprint, the divine blueprint for the fully activated human being with all 12 DNA strands functioning. And that in key times in our evolution, if you bring all these skulls together, then it would help to herald in the new age. Now, people are all excited about skulls and they're carving crystals. We have these modernly carved skulls like my friends that I was showing. And the thing is, the new skulls can and do connect with the ancient skulls. They're in harmonic resonance with each other. So they can form a connection. So the ancient skulls have all of this coded library of information. That energy and information can be received and downloaded into your skull, especially if it's from the quartz family. And then if you were to meditate with your skull, the shape of it is the same shape of the skull in your head. So this comes into harmonic resonance with this, and it eases the transfer of energy and information from the skull into your conscious awareness so that you can then pick up on that information. So I think that's why people really can feel it. And so it's really great if you happen to have a skull, if you get the opportunity to sit with an ancient skull like Max or Shana Ra or Synergy. A lot of these skulls travel around and you can have an appointment and sit with the skulls. You can bring your crystal skull and sit it right next to it and say download. Then you have a really juicy connection here. But even if you can't put your skull next to an ancient skull, you can still make that connection etherically and they can still be connecting. So I think that's what the hype is about. And I love it. I've got a whole line of crystal skulls over here. I think they're fantastic.
I bet your house is like its own gem store in its own by itself. You probably, how many crystals do you think you have?
Oh, I couldn't even tell you.
What are you wearing on your finger?
Oh, this is a Eudialyte, which is, it's a green amethyst.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what's interesting about this ring? I fell asleep with this ring on the first night that I ever had it. And that was the most vivid out of body dream I have ever had in my life. And I projected out of my body and I was in the night sky and there was literally a UFO and I saw aliens standing at a window. And that was the first night with this ring. So I really like Eudialyte.
Mm-hmm. Is there differences in like all the different colors of amethyst or any other gemstone?
Yeah, I'd say that there are some differences because there might be some different chemical components that make the colors different. So the energy is going to be slightly different.
Hmm.
Although with the Prasiolite, it does do a lot of the same thing that traditional purple amethyst will do, but it also has a little bit more of a healing, balancing quality to it. And I didn't know that it can make me go astral and visit UFO ships until it happened, but that's what happened with this.
How cool is that? Wow.
I thought
This
it
has
was
been
really
a
cool.
blast. I love you. You're
Oh,
such
I
a
love you
wonderful
too. And I love
source of
everybody
information.
here.
And, I'd love to have you back on again. I'm sorry to keep you on so long. We could
No,
ask
it's
you
great.
questions for
The
hours,
time's
but
been flying. Yeah, I didn't even know what time it was.
I know it's been, well, gosh, over about 2.5 hours right now. So I
Yep.
think I've kept you long enough, and I
Well,
apologize
it's
for
been
keeping
fun.
you.
I've been enjoying it. I love everybody's questions. You guys have really good questions. So,
Yeah, there are more, and but I think you've had enough. We'll leave it at that for now. I want to encourage everyone to visit Adrienne's website, and you can tell our family more about yourself right now if you'd like.
yeah, well, I'd love to connect with any and all of you. Right now, I'm just really focused on starting a new series of crystal classes. I'm going to be offering them in Austin, but I'd like to figure out how to do my classes online. So be on the lookout for that. Sometime later this year, I'd like to do little short crystal classes so that all of you people all over the world can tune in. And other than that, I do offer some long distance crystal healing sessions. That's another thing that I do. And I just love this work. And I love that all of you tuned in and that you're interested in crystals too. And I encourage you just to keep playing with them, and you'll probably discover all kinds of great things.
So your website is adriennegoff.com. Would you like to spell it for everyone? Once again, your last spelling bee question.
Okay, all right. ADRIENNEGOFF, F as in Frank.com.
Awesome. I want to thank everyone for joining us. And I encourage you to also visit in5d.net for these amazing quartz crystal powered shirts, and our Patreon page as well at patreon.com/in5d. So once again, Adrienne, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Greg.
Helped
You're
out.
wonderful.
Oh,
I'm really so grateful that we got to share this time and this information. So thank you for all you do to light up this world. Really
I
appreciate
would love to
it.
have you back again too. And
I'd
I'm
love to
sure
come back. We'll have to do it
everyone would
again.
love that. Definitely. So
We
until the
can do a
next
different
time,
topic next
everyone.
time. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. We'll look forward to that. So until the next time, I'm sending you all infinite love and light. Much love to all. Namaste. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you the next time. Take care.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Bye.